off air.
Yeah, I didn't think that one through. Sorry about that.
Yes, I have a microphone, sorry. Everything was going wrong there. All right, it is the 9 to do, so I'll have to properly process that afterwards because I was so confused technically here. But I feel complimented, yes?
Yeah, you should.
Okay, good
You
stuff.
really should.
All right. Take
Have
care
a
of
good
yourself.
weekend.
You too. And mind the roads out there. It is 9 o'clock. It's time for a news update. And we can say good morning now to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The HSE's Chief Clinical Officer says the current positivity rates are mind-boggling. A quarter of all COVID-19 cases confirmed in 2021 occurred between Christmas and the New Year. It comes as NPHET decided not to implement new restrictions despite record case numbers, as Omicron cases are causing fewer hospitalisations than previous variants. Dr. Colm Henry says there's no guarantee ICU numbers won't surge in the coming weeks.
It would be love to tell people certainty that we could be absolutely sure that these extraordinary surge in numbers won't translate through to hospitalisations and won't translate through to intensive care units. While there are some positive indicators coming from South Africa about reduced severity of illness, we can't be sure yet.
Well, Letterkenny University Hospital is currently dealing with 62 infectious cases of COVID-19. That's down slightly on yesterday's figure, but remains the second highest in the country. 4 infectious cases are in ICU. There's some disruption on the roads in Donegal this morning due to snow falling overnight. A standard yellow snow and ice warning is in place for the entire country until 11 o'clock this morning. Donegal County Council say the gritter was out in force earlier this morning. Motorists are advised to drive with caution. Cathal Nolan from Ireland's Weather Channel says ice is a particular issue on the roads.
With temperatures last night having dipped down to -1, -2 degrees in some parts of the country, there certainly will be icy stretches across the roads this morning, so motorists are advised to take care, do heed the warnings, and of course if there is any snow on the road as well, that will certainly only add to the conditions.
A West Donegal councillor believes the removal of an ATM in Glenties by Bank of Ireland is another example of the decimation of services in rural areas. The cash machine was removed in recent days without any prior notice. It comes following the closure of the Bank of Ireland branch in the town in recent months as part of a series of nationwide closures. Councillor Micheal Colmcille says questions need to be answered.
Glenties can be a very busy town, a lovely town to visit, and a town that would depend on that ATM quite heavily like other places. But unfortunately, yet again, here we have a situation where the banking sector have just pulled completely out of rural Ireland and without giving any consideration to us at all. And what I would be asking is, what is the government doing about this here?
Weather now, widespread wintry showers will continue this morning, along with the chance of isolated thunderstorms and hail. Highest temperatures today of 4 to 7 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock.
Introducing the new McPlant. It's everything you love about the McDonald's taste, only this time it's vegan. With a juicy and succulent patty co-created with Beyond Meat. A delicious vegan cheese alternative, vegan sandwich sauce, juicy tomato, onions, crisp lettuce, and of course, gherkins. Or not. The choice is always yours. It's our iconic taste, plant-based. For information about McPlant, visit mcdonalds.ie/McPlant. Served after 11 a.m, subject to availability.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, a very good morning and you're welcome along to the 9 till noon show on this Friday the 7th of January. It's 3 minutes past 9 and I do hope you're well and hopefully we can enjoy your company for the next 3 hours. Coming up after 10, we're going to be taking your legal questions for our legal expert, that's Seamus Gunn. Between 11 and 12, of course, Micheal and Fionnuala will be in with us to talk all things entertainment and to ease us into the weekend. But our next hour is dedicated to talking through some of the bigger topics of the day. We're joined on the programme this morning by John McAteer. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
It's great to have you with us, editor of the Tyrconnell Tribune as well. I hope you are well. Lorraine Thompson is Regional Director of the Donegal Youth Services. Good morning to you, Lorraine.
Morning, Greg. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you. And last but not least, Paddy Rooney from Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital. Good morning to you, Paddy.
Yeah, Greg. Hi, how are you?
I'll stay with you, Paddy. A quick run around through, I suppose, on one of the issues that dominated a lot of the conversation during the week, and that was schools reopening. They opened, for the most part. I think 2 schools in Donegal were forced to go with the staggered option. Speaking to some from within schools, there was absentee sorry, I can't say absenteeism because that's a very controversial word. There was students absent, around about a third or plus in some cases. A lot of teachers out as well and subs out as well. But Paddy, the right decision was made, was it, to get people back to school?
I would say so on balance, Greg. I mean, there's no consensus around this. Anyway, the final arbiter on this, I suppose, was the government. And of course, the government are taking advice from NEFIT, and they're the professional and responsible body that said it was okay to go ahead and do that. There's also been input as well, of course, from the Children's Ombudsman. His name passes me at the moment, but he said it was not alone was it the right thing to do, but it was an absolute necessity as well.
He also said that, though, in the context of absolutely everything we can do being done to make schools safe and to make them, a welcoming place for students. Obviously, the first part of his comments, which you referenced, were met because the children are back at school. But still, where are the filters? Where are the other mitigating measures? Where are the masks that the teachers want, and so on and so forth?
Well, they're not there, Greg. That's where they are. But I suppose we can't let perfection get in the way of action or some form of progress. In an ideal world, we would have the HEPI filters and we would have everything else, but we don't have it. And we are now going into year 3 of the pandemic, and society in some shape or form is going to have to learn to live with this. There's no point thinking that come to the end of January we're going to be over this, because there will probably be a new variant. I mean, your pharmaceutical companies are already talking about developing another vaccine for starting off in September of next year. I mean, people would have a huge amount of sympathy for teachers because they're in a room with 20 to 30 other people, and I suppose there's very few professions that find themselves in that predicament. But I suppose the problem is that in 2020, schools were closed for the good part of about 6 months. Those children lost that time in school, and they're never going to get it back again. And I suppose there's a risk and a balance to be weighed up here, because every time that a child at their age stays at home or stays away from school, they never get that back. It's not as if they go to walk through the summer holidays or whatever. They don't do that. They never get it back. And at the moment, I suppose, over 90% of the population is triple vaccinated, I presume, maybe. I have no way of knowing, but a high proportion.
94% of 12 plus are double vaccinated, and 55% of those over 12 have the booster.
Oh, right, okay. So those are very, very high numbers. And if the vaccines mean anything at all, I mean, they give people some form of protection. I know they don't bulletproof people to 100%. And there are a small number of people who have been triple vaccinated who end up in hospital and so on and so forth. But by and large, people are in a much better position than they were this time last year, for instance.
All right, Lorraine Thompson, I wonder, I was listening to some of the language coming out of Scotland and other countries that, post Omicron, we are going to have to move into the endemic stage. We heard NEFIT, despite, record figures, saying no further restrictions are to be required. A lot of people get a sense that we're allowing this to some extent, with some mitigation, to sort of, pass through the population. An awful lot of people have great concerns about that in terms of long COVID, and the fact that, a lot of people believe COVID is simply just a respiratory and maybe the lungs. But if you look through, what the medical professionals are writing about it, particularly in the long COVID context, this is something that can attack many parts of the body for quite some time. But anyway, firstly, we'll start off with your views on the schools reopening, and maybe you can talk to where you think we're going post-Omicron.
Okay, I think it was a real mixed bag. Obviously, pre-Christmas, there's a lot of anecdotal stories about children and young people being sent home with all of their books, and the planning kind of pre-Christmas that maybe schools wouldn't.
Anyone I spoke to, their children were sent home with the books.
Yes. So I think nearly they were setting up the stage so that if they needed to, homeschool or school from home, that would be in place. And obviously then that narrative impacts on the children and young people and their expectations of what's happening after Christmas. And I know myself, having 3 kids here, the narrative all over Christmas was we're definitely not going back, and watching the numbers and the numbers ramping up. I think it's safe to say Christmas was a non-event for a lot of families. If people didn't get COVID, they certainly were close contacts and were restricting their movements. So going back into a normal schooling environment seemed to fly in the face of that post-Christmas. But I do think the right decision was made. And I think it's important for the children and young people to get back into schools. I understand all the fears and concerns. As I say, children and young people going back into schools wearing extra layers, and the knowledge that windows will be left open, back into mask wearing, back into classrooms that really aren't really set up for the numbers of people to socially distance. And obviously the HEPA filters not being there are all huge concerns.
What's your feelings about students having no consultation with students? Is that the right approach? Because even in terms of the Leaving Cert exams, students are trying to speak, but no one in a decision-making position is listening to them, and they were completely ignored as it relates to a decision to return to school. Is that right or wrong?
Well, I do think that, from being in this situation last year and indeed the year before, for example, leading up to the Leaving Cert, the decisions seem to be made very last minute. And you have a cohort of students now getting ready to sit their Leaving Cert with anticipation that they're going to be going in to sit a full exam. I think that there should be decisions made around the blended approach that they had last year. I think that decision should be put on the table now so that the students know what's facing them, rather than waiting until the last minute. Yes, I do think the students should be consulted. There's plenty of ways and opportunities that they have done in the past. I think ultimately a lot of the students do want to get back to school. They want to get back into the classroom. They're concerned. There's a huge momentum now in class-based assessments. There's constant class tests going on for young people in secondary school, and they've kind of gotten used to that space. I would imagine it's a huge burden then for teachers, to continuously mark those. But I think the school environment has totally changed now because of COVID, because they never know what's ahead. So they're constantly waiting on changes.
Okay. John McAteer, I suppose I don't hear all voices, but those most opposed to going back to school, from what I could hear, were teachers. 70% of parents were okay with their children. They either wanted them to go back to school or they thought it was the right thing for them to go back to school, even if they were nervous. It was teachers that seemed to be expressing the greatest concerns. And then obviously people texting in saying, look, if teachers had to go onto the PUP, if they weren't actually in school, would they be quite as keen to call for, staggered or delayed reopenings? Did you hear much other than teachers, or many other than teachers, opposed to schools reopening, John?
In the media, you're going to pick up these stories. Parents were very apprehensive and very uncertain about it. They hoped that they were going back into a better environment than what they left at Christmas time. In other words, filters should have been put in place. Can you just imagine going into school this morning to sit in your school uniform throughout a very cold, miserable day and windows open? That's not the right way to go. And from that point of view, I don't think it's a fair ask of parents or students to go into those conditions at all. The numbers absent yesterday, we were doing a rough trawl around somewhere between 25 and 35%. And that's going to get higher because you'll not know until you get into the middle of next week. We get a clearer picture then, and probably the week beyond that, we'll see if the Christmas time acted as a circuit breaker. It probably has done so. You have a movement of students, buses, coaches, and all of this going back into schools, pretty poor environments. There's no way that schools are a safe environment for children. And on that issue alone, if they aren't, then they shouldn't go back in until they are made a safe environment.
That being said, though, I do wonder if the modelling which predicts, a peak, next week, say, for instance, that seems to be what an awful lot of the medical people are saying. They must be modelling that with children back at school fully. You know what I mean? Because I presume if they'd staggered or delayed children going back to school, that would delay that peak.
I think the Omicron is so virulent right now that there's an acceptance that they're only getting about 1 in 3 of the infectious cases, and that seems to be the same across Northern Ireland and the UK. And if that be the case, it's quite serious, much more serious than they're admitting. And it's quite a bit away from a peak, probably 3 weeks away, if that's the case, because we're heading into the worst time of year for infections, for viruses, for flus, and for chest conditions in hospital. The hospitals are going to become probably more crowded over the coming weeks.
Yeah.
And from that point of view, the next 2 to 3 weeks, probably the best part of the month of January, is going to be very crucial for the health system, because the reality is that for 2 years now, from this time 2 years ago, when there was the usual January rush, A&Es completely blocked off, staff have had 2 solid years. They've had very, very, very little respite from the crisis. And I mean, they're probably at breaking point as well.
Yeah. But it is an element of the fact, though, that if you go to work in like an acute hospital such as Letterkenny University Hospital, and maybe Paddy and Lorraine have an opinion on this too, they're not designed presumably to run at 20, 25 or 30% capacity, or, you know, it is an emergency medicine environment, presumably. You know, I presume that pressure. And this is not in any way to take away from what nurses and staff are going through, but I mean,
nothing's designed to run at 25% capacity. That can't work. You're getting through as best as you can through your shift, in the hope that the next day will be a bit better.
Let me bring Paddy in. Paddy, I mean, hospitals are designed to run at 100%, aren't they? Is that not the way it is?
Well, the desirable model for hospitals is that they run at somewhere about 86 or 88% capacity, so that they have the ability to deal with infrequent surges as they arrive. But what has happened now, of course, over the last 10 years, right across the British Isles, across the NHS and across the HSE, is that hospitals are running most of the time in excess of 100%. And they were doing that before the pandemic ever came along. And that's just heaped extra upon extra. I mean, Sean Murphy was on your programme, was it yesterday or the day before that? And he was talking about the daily attendances to the emergency department. Now, I'm retired for 4 years out of the place, but the hospital would say, for instance, somewhere between 90 and 125 presentations to the ED per day. He said a couple of days ago that they were running almost every day at over 170 presentations per day, and that is huge pressure on the system.
And then he said
the system hasn't expanded to be able to cope with that.
And then COVID on top of that. The impression I got from his comments was that, you know, the figures that you just referenced, it wasn't driven by COVID necessarily, that there is a lot of people presenting generally at the ED. Is that because they can't get an appointment with their doctor?
Well, I would say it's now impossible to get an appointment with your doctor over the last. So
what do you do if you're worried? You go to the ED, don't you, Lorraine?
Yes, but if anybody has any experience of going to the ED and they see the wait times, they really are prohibitive. And I know there's a whole narrative there about, well, you know, if you're complaining about the wait time, maybe you shouldn't be there. You know, that maybe you should have waited and got your doctor's appointment. I don't know what's going on in terms of doctor surgeries, but certainly anybody that I've had conversations with, it's really, really difficult. I appreciate at the minute, you know, there's lots of information coming through around staff shortages in GP practices.
But this has been going on. This has been going on. Yeah, this has been going on pre-Omicron, though. I mean, we get it every day in this program. People simply just cannot even get a phone answered.
Yeah, and I don't know the answer to that. I would be very interested to hear what has happened. But certainly over the last year and a half, you know, we're talking about people waiting maybe a week or two to try, you know, to get their appointments. But curiously, you know, when you're looking for maybe vaccine appointments, you can get them right away.
And it does vary, in fairness, it does seem to vary from place to place, but a lot of what we're hearing is a lot of what you're saying there. John, have you any insight into why people can't get a booking at a GP? Is it because their lines are jammed with people trying to book PCR tests? What's going on?
Well, first of all, I'm not actually aware of that. What I am actually aware of, and I have some anecdotal evidence of it last night, is that getting bookings for PCR tests are well nigh impossible. The system is bogged down, it's log jammed, and no matter what your GP can do, they can't work miracles. You have to wait maybe from 48 to 64 hours or whatever it's going to be. And in the meantime, you're supposed to isolate, keep taking antigen tests, and probably it's only a matter of time we'll run out of those. At this time of the year, the system is going to be log jammed anyway, before you even mention COVID. And, you know, there seems to be no easy way around that. The system is not designed to cope with that kind of rush. And there's no way we're ever going to be able to cope with it, because the numbers are not there, the facilities are not there, the beds are not there, and the clinicians are not there to handle it.
Yeah,
full stop.
But Paddy, from a public's perspective, you know, the hospital is saying we're extremely busy. In the first instance, contact your GP, only turn up at the ED unless it's an absolute emergency, you know. And people are trying to ring their GP, and they simply can't get through, or they can't get any satisfaction, or they're concerned. So what do? They then go on to the ED. Is that
yeah, you see that round and round and round we go. You see emergency departments up and down the country have always been regularly attended every day by people who have no reason to be there in the first place. And it's that target audience that they're trying to get to stay away. And I'm talking about people with chronic back pain that you go to ED and absolutely nothing can be done about it, because you need to be seen by an orthopedic surgeon, an outpatient or something like that. Going to ED is not going to cure it. You get plenty of those type of people, and then you'll get people then that are coming to, that they have minor cuts and so on and so forth that they could be with their GP. So I suppose if you can't get access to your GP, and there is anecdotal evidence of that, all right, that there is a difficulty over the last 3 or 4 months or whatever. And just roll back one little bit to make a comment about hospitals and their capacity. Mm-hmm. Sean Murphy, I think, said there's about, 70 patients in the hospital at the moment that are COVID positive.
62 this morning.
Oh.
It varies, but it's just 62 this morning. 62,
okay. Now, if we're talking about patients outside the ICU department, I think 60 of those, there's only about 2 in the ICU department, but 60 patients in a general ward with COVID are not the same as 60 patients with respiratory disease, because primarily they have to be kept in isolation. Nurses and doctors and catering staff and everybody who's attending to them, cleaning staff, have to don PPE, and they're much slower to be cared for and to be treated. Slows down the whole process or whatever, because you don't have to go through that rigmarole with people with ordinary respiratory disease. So the number is one thing, but the complexity of it is heaping burden upon burden here.
Yeah, okay. Listen, thanks for that.
But Paddy has been like that for 25, 30 years, as you know.
It has, but you don't have 65 patients in the hospital, John.
Yeah, but
isolation every day.
The HSE and the whole administration of it for years and years has been a basket case.
Like, we should not be in a situation, though, should we, whereby, we have so much COVID spreading in the community. We have 900 people in hospital with COVID. Not all of them sick because of COVID, but they have COVID in there as well. There's many in there that shouldn't be in there if we could actually discharge them. They're probably well enough to get out of hospital, but they can't because there aren't the carers or the step-down facilities or whatever is available. And we have 90 people, many of them, many of them, and we wish them a full and speedy recovery, are in there with Delta. They're long-term in ICU. I mean, if we had a properly funded and resourced health system, Paddy, we wouldn't be not locked down. We wouldn't see the restrictions that we have now, because clearly we are seeing the impact of this virus being absolutely everywhere, and our hospital system should be able to manage those that get very sick from it. Any of you, Lorraine, what do you think to that, Lorraine?
I mean, listen, I'm no expert like Paddy, but the narrative every year at this time of year is the overcrowded hospital, the extensive waiting times in ED, and that's pre-COVID. So, from year one of COVID, we've, had huge conversations in the media around extra resources going in, buying up hospital beds in private hospitals. I don't know where that has gone. I don't know if that's still on the agenda. But, I mean, the virus obviously has ramped up in the last 2 years, albeit, the vast majority are just experiencing cold-like or flu-like symptoms. But I don't understand why, if those things were on the table, that they don't seem to be talked about now at all. And we're back to the same conversation again around the impact on the hospital, which is not where anybody wants to be. I mean, so whilst the vast majority of us can say, we've had our vaccines, we've had our booster, we're ready to take on whatever the virus throws at us at this stage because we have our ammunition. But for the people that end up in hospital, we really should be able to say that it's fit for purpose for them.
We don't have the beds there. So many beds have been taken out of that system over the last 20 years and they haven't been returned. And at the end of the day, if you're going to have beds, you're going to have staff. So you're on the merry-go-round all the time. If you're going to have beds, you're going to need extra space.
But John, do you accept that we should be able to cope with the amount of people that get very sick with COVID without it leading to, a societal shutdown?
Look, Greg, we are one of the wealthiest and best performing economies in the whole wide world. And if that's the best we can do, there's something very, very far wrong. God help us if we're halfway down the list where we'd be. It's not about throwing money at the system, which they have been doing. It's the management, it's the middle management of it, and there's a whole range of issues within the whole health system, ranging from how many consultants you have, how many procedures you're able to carry out, how many people are on waiting lists. The fact is that there's 1 in 5 people in the country waiting for an appointment to see a consultant. Now, if that's not a health system that's totally dysfunctional, it's not serving the people.
And that is sort of, immediate care. Obviously, I get an awful lot of messages. We get an awful lot of contacts here with people that are in what they would describe as, chronic pain with hips or knees or something, and they're being told they're going to have to wait 5 years if they want to get that seen to. That's going to be a very long 5 years for many of those people. But Paddy, as I put the same point to you just before we take this break, should this level of sickness be enough to shut down our hospital system and also to see lots of restrictions imposed on people's lives? We should be able to cope, shouldn't we?
Well, no health system in the Western world is designed to cope with the pandemic, and there's no point dressing this up, talking about beds and whatever, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and it's just putting an extraordinary burden on the system. It's like we spoke earlier on about the school system and the education system. That's not set up to deal with or to be able to function normally in the middle of a pandemic either. When we talk about the health service and the problems in it, it's always the hospital seems to be the lightning rod here for the criticism about how it's functioning and not functioning, as the case may be. Anne O'Connor, the Director of Operations for the HSE, was interviewed on RT this morning, and she said that there's a very high proportion. She actually didn't put a number on it, but it's well in excess of 1,000 to 1,500 patients who are currently inpatients in hospitals, but are, to all intents and purposes, medically discharged. And the reason why they're in hospitals is because there is nowhere for them to go. The hospital now owns that problem. They're taking up the beds that the people that John and Lorraine are speaking about that need to be in hospital. Those patients are in that hospital. What has the hospital system got to do with those? They have them and they can't get rid of them. Those patients don't need to be there. That's always been a problem in the healthcare system. But
Paddy,
it has peaked in a very big way now.
All of those things are 25, 30 years old. Every one of them. You've worked in the system. I worked in it. I'm hearing stuff now. I'm out of the system over 30 years. I'm hearing stuff now that I was hearing 30 years ago, except that it was all down to we don't put enough money into it. Staff are leaving. They won't stay when they're trained and all this kind of thing, and conditions are not good. We have continued to invest substantially year on year in the health service, but it doesn't seem to be doing, the level of investment has not been met with the same level of delivery, if you know what I mean.
We saw a recent round of hirings, and a lot of the staff that were hired by the HSE are not frontline staff. They were management or were in other areas of the system, but we're being told that, look, we've swollen the health service staff by such and such, but it isn't nurses and consultants for the most part. It is management, people that actually aren't in very important jobs. I'm sure they wouldn't be hired if they weren't, but they aren't necessarily at the front line in delivering care. Now, I know it's more complex than that. But
how many layers of management are there within the system? How many layers of unions are there right across the system? Is that not feeding into the whole need to rationalise and to streamline the whole system?
Yeah, well, we could do an eight-part podcast on that one issue alone, John. Unfortunately, I don't have the time for it, but it's a very important question. Right, more coming up from our guests after this break. Stay tuned and stay involved, texting and WhatsApping 086 60 25,000 or by calling 07491 25,000.
Is 2022 the year you need to change your mattress? Restex Beds Letterkenny, the massive January sale is now on. Sponsors of today's show.
Milford Tiles and Wood Flooring, Milford Retail Park. January sale is now on. Get 15% off everything in store. 15% off tiles, bathware, wood flooring, adhesives and grout. Yes, you heard right. 15% off everything in store for 2 weeks only. Milford Tiles and Wood Flooring, 083 0910 707.
I'm really excited about going back to school this year.
I want everyone in my class to stay well. If I have any symptoms or if I am advised to strict movements, I know I shouldn't come to school because we all play our part in keeping everyone well.
It's important that everyone follows public health advice to keep everyone well at home and in school. Remember, if your child has any symptoms, please keep them home and get a COVID-19 test. This January, this is the only test that matters. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
The Dunstores Baby event is on now, and we've got big savings on baby products. Like Jumbo Plus packs of Pampers, new baby or Active Fit nappies. Buy one, get one free. And Water Wipes Bio 12 packs, now only €20. That's an amazing €1.67 per pack. Plus, with our 10 off 50 grocery voucher, you save even more. Which means every trip to Dunnes Stores means better value. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €50 or more.
Central Auto Parts are now stocking Sunny, a water-based paint offering all up-to-date colours for all vehicles. And Celimix Commercial, the perfect paint for diggers, plant and machinery. Buy it today at Central Auto Parts, Portslink Business Park, Letterkenny. Find us on Facebook or call us on 074 9127 491.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at...
The time is at 9:30. Now, bit of controversy this week over the programme Operation Transformation, and I said yesterday, just to be honest, it's a programme I haven't seen, so I'm not really sure as to the format of it, but I have a fair idea. Bodywise, amongst others, critical of it, saying that it is not necessarily universally helpful. It can be triggering for people with eating disorders, and everyone's had their view in it, and it's just become another one of those issues where you're either, a snowflake, or you don't understand what other people are going through. And I haven't seen much agreement in terms of people's opinions. Everyone is so polarised nowadays, it seems. But Lorraine Thompson, Regional Director of the Donegal Youth Service, programmes that sort of, make money off and sort of draw in listeners off the back of this type of subject matter. Is there a place for them in society anymore? Or, if you don't like it, don't watch it and lighten up a bit.
Well, I think when I heard the story first, that is an automatic reaction. Just, change the channel. When you delve a wee bit deeper into it, obviously here we are in January again. It's the time of year for the exercise equipment to come out, for pennies to put all of their exercise gear to the front of the shop. Lidl and Aldi have taken all of the nice, fancy luxury goods off their brochures and put on all of the vegan food, the fruit, the veg. It is the time of year for people to say we've had enough over the Christmas and we're going to all get back on track. And obviously the programme Operation Transformation, feeds into that, and that's the time of year, and that's why it's on, and it does get a lot of viewers. It's on the TV now, I think 15 years. But I was interested to see why Bodywise, the charity that have called them out on the different elements of the programme, why have they chosen this programme? What is it?
I think it got a bit of traction on social media, people criticising it, and I think if they were seen to be sitting on their hands, then people would say, well, what is your function? You have to have a position on this. And if their position then was, well, it's okay, well, then it's, well, why are Bodywise around at all? And that's the type of society we live in now. They were probably...
Bodywise have said, that their clients have told them that the show's triggering for them, that the focus of, showing people in their underwear, standing on scales, being upset at, where they're at in terms of their lives, that's very triggering. And they have a very valid point. If you watch the show and you are triggered by that, I think it's important to put that into the fore.
But what does triggered mean? Is that an emotional reaction, or is that just an opinion? And I'm not being dismissive. It's to better understand. Like, say for instance, if I were going through a spell where I was suffering from really, really bad anxiety, okay, and there was a program discussing how to get better from mental health, and it seemed like a really easy pathway and lovely happy endings, and I'm sitting there going, hold on, that's not my journey, that's not my experience, this is making me feel worse, then we'd have to take...
So it's for people who are experiencing eating disorders are triggered by the show.
Yeah.
Yes. And But I think it's interesting, looking at the statistics that Bodywise have put out, there was a massive increase in people presenting with eating disorders in 2020. So coupled with the pandemic and the stresses of the pandemic and the impact on people who have eating disorders, both children, young people and adults across the spectrum, there seems to have been a huge increase. And what I think what Bodywise have done, they've been very smart as a charity. They have put the spotlight on this show, but they're also using the opportunity to showcase that this is a huge issue for them, for their clients. And also there's a little caveat they put in there is around the government's financial input into Operation Transformation. And obviously they're a charity and they get money from the government. So I think it's all tied in together. And I have to say, I think it's a very good opportunity that Bodywise have used to put this into the media because everybody's talking about it.
But programs like this should they be done away with? Like, I think if they, I haven't seen the program again, but if they structured it whereby it was actually supportive of people, you know what I mean, and it was done in a different way, maybe it could be seen as, this is the best thing that's ever happened in terms of, raising awareness and helping people. I presume it's not that. It's mostly entertainment. Should programs like this still be broadcast, do you believe, if you get a group of people saying, we find this is upsetting, this triggers our emotions, or this is triggering with our... I watched the show. I haven't watched it maybe last year, but I've certainly watched it in past years. There's a lot of opportunity for the wider audience to get involved. They put all their recipes online. You can follow along, with the weekly schedule. So I think it captures what the audience wants at this time of year. Obviously I wouldn't be advocating anybody standing on TV in their underwear getting upset. What's interesting this year, apparently what they're going to do is not put them in their underwear anymore, let them be in comfy, casual clothes. Yeah, that's good. That's Paddy, are we too sensitive, or are you right to have these conversations and make adjustments where need be?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Greg, it's going to be good for the programme. I bet you $1 that they, whenever it comes off, is it Wednesday or Thursday next week, that there's going to be, the viewers is going to increase. I think that RTE have to decide actually what this is sort of a different slant now than what Lorraine said there, but RTE have to decide actually what this programme is about. Is it reality TV in the lines of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, or Love Island or something like that? Or is it a genuine attempt to be like entertainment / assisting people, the many people who are listening to your program on this morning and who watch the TV at night that are overweight or deem themselves to be overweight, and that it's an assistance. I watch it because my wife watches it, and whatever she watches, I have to watch. I have no choice.
Proper order.
Some of the bits about the people being weighed in their underwear and showing off their flabby bits and so on and so forth, I personally wouldn't do it. I think there's no call for that absolutely at all. And they also sort of dig out sort of emotional issues that people, literally every one of the participants have, given the very false impression that everybody who's overweight has some emotional issue, which is quite clearly not the case. They don't give enough emphasis as well, for instance, on cooking and cooking foods. There's a lot of programs on TV now where there's celebrity chefs are doing, and cooking programs, but there seems to be a lot of butter and cream and sugar and all the things that are purportedly bad for us. They don't do enough of that. There's too much of weighing and exercising and not enough emphasis on actually assisting people out there to eat healthy and to cook healthy.
All right. If you watch that program, is there enough in it for you to change your lifestyle and to follow? Or is it more...
Absolutely not.
Right, okay.
I think they've lost... I think it's a bit for all the world. It reminds me, Greg, about what RTE have done with the Late Late Show since Gay Byrne, and to a lesser degree since Pat Kenny has left it. They've lost their way completely. I think that program is not what it set out to be.
Quick word from you, John.
RTE will love this, because it's one of their big money spinners, and to get the nation talking about in the lazy, hazy days of no big stories over Christmas and the New Year. This is meat to them, because it it's now, I think Lorraine said it's into its 15th season. I think it began in 2008. I would rarely ever watch that kind of a program, despite the fact that it probably has its good points. But I mean, those people going on that show know exactly whether they're going to be dressed in their underwear, whether they're not. They know exactly what to expect. So why in the hell would they go on to it if they have any problems with it?
You get caught up in it. You contact them, you talk to the producers, you end up in a bit of a bubble. Maybe they're said, look, you're doing amazing stuff. This is going to benefit so many people.
Do you really believe that old rubbish?
I would believe that, and I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I believe they'd probably say anything to get people to participate within reason, obviously. No,
like realistically, I mean, it's a very lightweight program. It's a reality type show. I wouldn't take it that seriously. It fills a slot. It makes a lot of money. It's one of the top programs for RTE, and to all intents and purposes, it has outlived its time. Any show that's running for 15 years. If people don't like it, then why are they watching it? I mean, are we so trivial that we must watch something?
It's been invested. The government are putting 350,000 into that show.
You see, like Lorraine.
Conversation.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter about viewership if you're pulling in that level of sponsorship.
See, like that is from a health point of view. But that's the only way we can use.
Yes, but let's ask. Maybe the question then, Lorraine, is that money well spent? Should that €300,000 be targeted to actually offer more targeted and constructive help for people tackling the disease that is obesity? It's generally accepted in medicine that this is a disease.
Yes, and I know, I mean, it's Paddy Wise that have put this into the media, and that is a charity specifically around eating disorders, which is linked into the mental health system. And I think, I mean, part of the conversation we had before the break was around the HSE and how they manage their business. And if you went to delve into how the monies for mental health is spent, and there's another, I don't know how many shows within that we could look at, Craig, but I do think that there's a bigger picture here, which is in relation to our mental health services. And if the pandemic has impacted to that degree on children, young people and adults who have experience of eating disorders, that is the conversation that we should be having.
And I would love if people who are speaking very passionately about the well-being of children now, and I presume it is coming from a very important place, if they would also focus on the wider issues facing children as well. I mean,
we shouldn't be taking our guidelines from a TV show of that kind, which really a lot of people would just refer to as trailer trash television. And I mean, that's what most
I don't know. People might be offended by you using that phrase, but anyway.
No, but like it is that type of show. Because look, if you have an issue with your weight and all that, who's the first one you should go to? Your doctor, not to a reality TV show.
Okay, John,
is that not correct?
Yeah. It's certainly where you're going to get better help. Listen, thank you very much for that. You're hearing the voices this morning of John McAteer, the editor of the Tyrconnell Tribune, Lorraine Thompson, who's Regional Director of Donegal Youth Services, and Paddy Rooney from Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital. We're going to be speaking about some disquiet amongst students at LYIT about how exams are going to be operated there, and we'll be getting the views of our panel as well on that issue. We'll take a break and then we'll be joined by a couple of guests, further guests.
The best place to get a new bed or mattress at a great price is Restex Beds Letterkenny. The massive January sale is now on. Sponsors of today's show.
For great fuel deals, contact Gortley Sales and Hire. Large sacks and trailer loads of logs. Also briquettes, coal, kindling and gas with free delivery locally. Contact Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny on 9126276.
Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure Main Street, Letterkenny. The big winter sale is now on with great reductions throughout the store. Selected kids clothing reduced to clear. Also Adidas tracksuits for all ages on bmcsports.ie. Men's and women's sports clothing with discounts of up to 40% off. Check out the Brian McCormick's winter sale in store or click on bmcsports.ie.
Most people say that Donegal is the coolest place on the planet, but up here we know that sometimes it can be the coldest. Charles Bunner & Sons Ballybuffet is the one-stop shop for all your heating needs. We have a huge range of multi-fuel and wood pellet stoves and ranges, spare parts for all major stove and range brands, plumbing and bathroom ware, all at exceptional prices. So visit our showrooms where our friendly and experienced team will be ready to help you. Charles Bunner & Sons Ballybuffet and the stovestore.ie, where you can always do a good deal better.
Forward Emphasis International, based in Mallinhead, are actively recruiting for customer service advisors with both permanent remote working and hybrid opportunities available. Experience in contact centres or insurance services is desirable but not essential, as full training is provided. Fully funded financial services qualifications delivering attractive career path opportunities are available. Please visit their website www.forwardemphasis.ie or apply via their careers page.
At Creaseless Supermarket, we offer daily specials at our deli with fresh and delicious food to go. Avail of our butcher's weekly specials or choose from a range of healthy options and pre-packed meals, plus many more offers in store. We're open 7 days for your convenience. Creaseless Supermarket, where quality and value is assured.
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme. Anna, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm okay. Thanks for joining us. Right, you contacted us after receiving an email from LYIT. What's happening? What's being proposed?
So, Greg, as you know, every year on the lead up to Christmas, a lot of students in the LYIT, instead of enjoying the time with their families, we're all getting prepared to do exams in January. And on the 1st of January, we received this following email from the college to say that following public health guidelines, the Institute has taken the decision to defer all scheduled in-person examinations until the end of the academic year. So that was on the 1st of January, on New Year's Day. As you can imagine, that's relieved a lot of stress for the students.
So just so we all understand the timeline, the exams normally take place in January?
So for the exams actually start on the 6th of January this year, and they go through right into the 20-something of January.
And then when is the end of the academic year where they're being proposed to take place now?
So, well, Greg, on the 6th of January, we actually received an email from Students' Union, and, we can't commend Students' Union enough because they are working for the students' benefit. So we received an email yesterday evening to say that we had to vote by 10 o'clock this morning.
Okay.
We were given two options. The first option was to set the exams for the semester from September to December in May. Now, some of the May exams, there's courses doing exams in May, but now they're one of the options is you do the exams in January in May and then do the May ones in May as well.
So the options on the table were to either sit this semester's exams on the 17th or have both semesters 1 and 2 exams in May. Now,
in May.
Was there a third option of doing these remotely?
No.
But that's happening elsewhere, isn't it?
No, Greg. First of all, sorry, can I take you back just to option 1 there? Yeah, so in option 1, for some of the courses, it has been 6 months since they sat in a classroom.
Okay.
Because a lot of these courses are out in placement. So some of us would have to continue on with placement and then go back and sit in exams in May, or they want us to sit exams on the 17th, which is next week. It means for people who's going out in placement that their placement would be postponed until February, which means you're kind of eating in then to May, and by May we're getting prepared for exams and finishing our portfolios. Now, we do know that there is 5 institutes and universities in the east of Ireland and the west of Ireland who have opted for remote examinations. Now, looking at the numbers from yesterday, Greg, this last week, there's 20,000 plus COVID cases a day. And yesterday, there was 23,817 cases in Ireland. Now, they're looking, one of our options is to go on next week to sit in a room with maybe 50 other students to do exams. Now, I do know the college would do, adhere to COVID guidelines. However, you're still going into a room with 50 plus students. And then some of us then are going out in placement, which means we'll be working with the elderly, working with children, working with families.
Right, okay.
If that was your child, would you like...
No, of course not. Do you think the majority of students want the remote option that's being offered to students in the likes of GMIT, Sligo IT, Limerick IT, etc.?
Greg, we want to finish this semester. We want to move on with our studies, but we don't want to go into an environment where there's 20,000 cases a day to sit in a room. We want to know, why are we not being given a third option for remote examinations?
Okay, Anna, listen, and we're gonna stay on this issue, by the way, but I have to move on, Anna. I appreciate your time. I want to bring Micheal in on this as well. Micheal, do you agree with Anna? Is that the general consensus that a remote examination option should be on the table?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And as Anna spoke, we just haven't been given any reason as to why we can't facilitate online exams. On the 22nd of December, I actually went online to double check my examination timetable and noticed that 2 exams were already placed online for other students. It was operations and supply chain management and quantitative risk analysis. They're trying to tell us that they cannot facilitate online exams, yet could facilitate for them to. Why are the rest of the college being left without any exams? Their partnerships as the TUD, as the Universal Technological University, their GMIT in Sligo, they've moved on and progressed to remote exams.
What's your worry about
unfair.
in-person exams on January 17th? Is it a public health worry as well?
The biggest worry for me is if I catch COVID, I can't sit my exams.
Okay. And the option
I
of...
need to be fully fit, and healthy, because I know with this variant people aren't getting sick, but I'm a final year student and we don't have time to sit repeats in June, as what we were proposed, what we were told before we split up Christmas was if you get COVID, you repeat in June. We're all getting masters, we're all starting our jobs. We need our grades before that. We need fairness, and if we get COVID, which isn't anyone's fault, we could be fit enough to sit our exams remotely, but we're just not given that opportunity.
Okay,
you could sit the first exam and then not get to sit your other 2 or 3 or 4.
Now, I've been in. I mean, I presume some of it is organised. Some of it's random. But I've been inundated with messages over the last day from students that want remote exams. They're very upset with the 2 options that are on the table. They're very worried and anxious about this. That is generally what people are feeling, is it, Micheal?
Yeah, definitely. And just another thing, from being in the campus 4 days a week there in the run up to Christmas and for the whole semester, you're always at a worry of COVID. The windows are open. You're worrying about CO2 levels, everything. It is extremely difficult to concentrate when there's freezing temperatures outside and you're sitting in a room for... My exams are 3 hours long. Okay. 3 hours trying to write. There's so many concerns the students are really worried about.
Well, listen, we're on this. We're going to stay on it today. I'm going to return to it on Monday. We were hoping to speak to Paul Hannigan, the president of the LYIT. He says there are ongoing meetings scheduled this morning with the Students' Union. It wouldn't be right to comment until these discussions are concluded. So hopefully, if they can do it, there might be some movement in that regard. Listen, thank you very much, Micheal. Hopefully things get sorted. It's stressful enough without any extra layers of stress, I'm sure. I appreciate your and Anna times this morning.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, Paddy Rooney, Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital. I'll start with you, your views on that. I mean, obviously, we've sprung this on you a little bit, but you've got a thrust. You, Lorraine and John have got a thrust of the concerns of the students. It would be if it can practically be done, why are students not being given the option to sit these exams remotely? They have their concerns, and I can understand their concerns.
I suppose personally, I don't have enough knowledge about the issue because I've only come upon it now over the last 2 minutes or whatever. I presume Paul and his academic staff in the college have taken that on advice, I suppose, on public health advice. But can actually see the predicament that the students is in as well, particularly if they require their grades to move on to their placements and so on, because everything can be backed up. There's no point me commenting on it one way or the other. Right, I just don't have enough knowledge on it, Greg.
Lorraine, as I say in my introduction to Paddy, I understand we're kind of springing this on you guys a little bit, but again, maybe the conversation with students should have been happening a long time before this morning to get a resolution to this, to get a sense of what they want, what they feel safe with, Lorraine.
And just to commend the 2 students there, Greg, because they are very articulate and they spoke very well and they put their case forward very well. So I would imagine if the Students' Union is doing the same, I can imagine that they'll come up with an amicable solution. Again, like I said earlier, I mean, we're going to get a year 3 of this pandemic. You would think that decisions that needed to be made and contingency plans that needed to be made would have been put in place and not sprung on people. I seem to be the sense there with those 2 students. The people, if they knew what to expect, that they could have planned accordingly. I mean, as I say, they're all very valid points. Students work, for each semester towards the end of the semester's exams and assessments. to kick them forward into the end of the next semester, to me, doesn't make sense. Again, as Paddy had said, the administration and the LYT I have found are always very good to work with, you know, and it sounds like the communications that are going on with the Students' Union are ongoing. And I hope that a solution will be found, because it's stressful enough on the students. As those two students have said, you know, they're trying to get to the end of their courses and they're looking forward to their employment opportunities at the end of it.
John, yeah.
I'd be confident they'll come up with something that will suit all.
I think LYT generally, you know, the management generally tend to. That would be your hope too, John McAteer?
Absolutely. And notwithstanding the fact that Paul Hannigan is still in negotiation with the Students' Union, and probably it's not appropriate to be commenting on, but the two girls have...
Well, yes, but it is appropriate, because they want this decision made out in the open, and they believe if they speak publicly, it might further their argument. I think it is now's the time to talk about it.
Yeah, like I'm not saying that, mind you. I didn't say that.
Okay, John.
I would say that the information that the girls gave us, suggesting that other colleges are carrying out remote online exams, that is enough to suffice, really. If other colleges are doing it, then why not the LYT? I think that's where we need to get some clarity from the management on.
Okay.
And I mean, there's quite a lot of concern in the voices of both of those girls, because they're reaching the very end of their training at the college. I don't understand why they should have to deal with exams, or that would include a semester up to May. That to me wouldn't make an awful lot of sense. Obviously, there's a bit of negotiating to be sorted out around that there, and they shouldn't have had to go this far down the line that it has to come into the public domain. But maybe now that it has given us a clear appreciation of the issues that the students face, and probably also management has their own issues to resolve with the very, very big numbers out there, and they're also trying to cope with COVID. So between the Students' Union and Paul Hannigan, who's a very reasonable man, let's hope that they get it resolved satisfactorily.
John McAteer, I always leave feeling very satisfied having spoken to you. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's nice to hear that, for a change.
It is, and I think we got through a full hour without you having a dig at me, which was really nice.
Thanks very much. But I mean, you're doing okay. Let's look forward to 2022. That Highland Radio will be still the most listened to radio in the Northwest in that time.
Okay, right. You seem to have your doubts. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Take care of yourself. Lorraine Thompson, thank you very much as always. Lovely to speak to you, and I really appreciate you coming on the programme. As do you, Paddy Rooney. Always well informed, and people enjoy your commentary as well. So thank you very much for joining us.
You're very welcome, Greg. Thank you.
Take care of yourself.
Right,
okay.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day yourself too. Right, that was the Friday panel. We really appreciate it. Lots of you have been texting in the first hour. We'll get to some of those texts in a moment. Coming up after 10 o'clock, Seamus Gunn will be joining us to give his opinion on a legal matter of the day, but also, of course, to take your questions. Get them into us, 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. And then between 11 and 12, I'll be delighted to have Fionnuala and Micheal back. If you've watched anything on TV, or you've been to the cinema, or there's a film or a TV program or anything to do with entertainment that you want to talk about, get involved in that conversation as well. We'll be back after the news and obituary notices.
Is 2022 the year you need to change your mattress? Restex Beds Letterkenny, the massive January sale is now on. Sponsors of today's show.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price sale. Get up to 50% off everything in store. All kitchen and bathroom tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware, all cladding, everything's reduced. It's our biggest ever sale. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price January sale. Stores nationwide. Sale now on.
Homeland fuel offers, keeping you warm for less. 40 kg premium doubles or easy flame coal, $16.99. Buy 10, get 1 free. 1 kg fire logs, 4 for €5. 12-pack wood briquettes, buy 2 for €10. Shop in-store or online at homeland.ie.
The Holland & Barrett 1 cent sale is back, with buy one get one for just 1 cent on vitamin C, Manuka honey, natural skincare and much more. And you can even mix and match. Shop in-store or at hollandandbarrett.ie. Ends 8th of February 2022. Selected items, cheapest item 1 cent, subject to availability.
New fertiliser loans for farmers as prices bite. For more in this week's Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
We exclusively reveal how credit unions and merchants are joining forces to offer new loans to farmers. Our MarkBids Wheeling Price database breaks down full breed, weight and price in the last 12 months. Over 1,000 cattle reported stolen or missing last year. Where was hardest hit? Plus construction costs. We examine how farm building costs will change in 2022.
All inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. On sale now.
Hello, Grace. Where are you heading?
Down to Made to Measure Fireplaces in Creasla.
Made to Measure Fireplaces? Didn't you just buy a fireplace there?
Yeah, but I'm going now to pick my kitchen worktop.
Create the kitchen and living room of your dreams at Made to Measure Fireplaces and Granite Worktops. They've been in business for over 40 years. So for help choosing granite or quartz for your worktop, fireplace or stove, visit the Made to Measure showroom at Cashel Creasla or see mtmfireplaces.com or on Facebook.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. The HSE's Chief Clinical Officer says current positivity rates are mind-boggling. A quarter of all COVID-19 cases confirmed in 2021 occurred between Christmas and the New Year. It comes as NPHET decided not to implement new restrictions, despite record case numbers, as Omicron cases are causing fewer hospitalisations than previous variants. However, Dr. Colm Henry says there is no guarantee that ICU numbers won't surge in the coming weeks.
It would be love to tell people certainty that we could be absolutely sure that these extraordinary surge in numbers won't translate through to hospitalisations and won't translate through to intensive care units. While there are some positive indicators coming from South Africa about reduced severity of illness, we can't be sure yet.
Letterkenny University Hospital is dealing with 62 infectious cases of COVID-19. That's down slightly on yesterday's figure. It remains the second highest in the country, with 4 infectious cases in ICU. Nationally, 941 people are being treated in hospital with the virus, 90 of them in intensive care. Well, a former Assistant General Manager at Letterkenny University Hospital says the facility, like many others, is currently running at close to 100% capacity and was doing so before the effects of the pandemic took hold. Paul Rooney told today's 9 till noon show this effectively means the hospital cannot cope with surges in demand.
The desirable model for hospitals, they run at somewhere about 86 or 88% capacity so that they have the ability to deal with infrequent surges. But what has happened now, of course, over the last 10 years across the NHS and across the HSE is that hospitals are running most of the time in excess of 100%. And they were doing that before the pandemic ever came along. And that's just heaped extra upon extra.
An Post says deliveries in some rural areas are being impacted by staffing shortages. The company says a spike in COVID-related absences has placed a temporary strain on its resources. It says the worst impact is being felt across its mails and parcel network, and some post offices are temporarily shut. It says many social welfare benefit payments are being transferred to neighbouring offices for those affected. Students at Letterkenny Institute of Technology are calling for remote exams to be introduced. Last week, the college announced all Semester 1 in-person exams were being postponed until a later date due to rising cases of COVID-19. 2 options have since been proposed. One, that students sit Semester 1 exams in May along with other scheduled exams, or on January 17th. A number of other institutions across the country have introduced remote examinations. Anna, a student at LYIT, told Greg Hughes this morning she has serious reservations about sitting examinations next week.
Yesterday there was 23,817 cases in Ireland. One of our options is to go on next week to sit in a room with maybe 50 other students to do exams. Now, I do know the college would do, adhere to COVID guidelines. However, you're still going into a room with 50 plus students. Some of us then are going out in placement, which means we'll be working with the elderly, working with children, working with families.
Well, in a statement to Highland Radio News in the past half hour, the president of LYIT, Paul Hannigan, said there are ongoing meetings scheduled this morning with the Students' Union and it wouldn't be right to make any comment until those discussions have been concluded. A West Donegal councillor believes the removal of an ATM in Glenties by Bank of Ireland is another example of the decimation of services in rural areas. The cash machine was removed in recent days without prior notice. It comes following the closure of the Bank of Ireland branch in the town in recent months as part of a series of nationwide closures. Councillor Micheal and Fionnuala says questions need to be answered.
Glenties can be a very busy town, a lovely town to visit, and a town that would depend on that ATM quite heavily like other places. But unfortunately, yet again, here we have a situation where the banking sector have just pulled completely out of rural Ireland and without giving any consideration to us at all. And what I would be asking is, what is the government doing about this here?
Well, in a statement, Bank of Ireland says the ATM in Glenties was retained beyond the closure of the branch to coincide with the installation of a Euronet ATM on Main Street last month. The bank says the closure of a branch generally does include the decommissioning of the accompanying ATM. And today's marks 100 years since the Dáil voted to ratify the Anglo-Irish Treaty. It passed by 64 votes to 57 and resulted in a new Irish government taking over control from Britain. However, it also set in motion events that led to the Civil War, which began 6 months later. Obituary notices any accumulations of sleet and snow will lead to some hazardous driving conditions this morning. Widespread wintry showers continuing through the morning, along with a chance of some isolated thunderstorms and hail. During the afternoon, showers will tend to die off, but showery outbreaks of rain will develop in the west during the evening. Highest temperatures 4 to 7 degrees Celsius in moderate to fresh and gusty westerly winds. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. Good morning.
The obituary notices for this Friday morning, January the 7th. The death has taken place of David Walker, 35, the Branch Dairy. Funeral from there on Saturday at 12 o'clock for 12:30 Requiem Mass in the Holy Family Church at Ballymagorty. Interment afterwards in the city cemetery. The death has taken place of John Nicholson, Rossbeg, Portnew. His remains will repose at Chauvelin's Funeral Home Sandfield this evening from 6 until 9 o'clock, followed by Rosary. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock to St Connell's Church, Kilclooney, travelling via Rossbeg and Portnew for 12 noon Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. John's funeral mass can be viewed live on Chauvelin's Funeral Home Facebook page. The death has taken place of William Duncan, formerly of Bree Malin Head. His remains are reposing at John Anthony Doherty Heela's residence at the Mullins, Carndonagh. Funeral leaving there this evening at 6:30, going to the Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonagh, for Mass at 7 o'clock, then reposing overnight. Removal from there tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, going to Milltown Cemetery, County Westmeath, for interment. The death has occurred of Dennis Boner, Los Arbols, Lower Drumbo, Stranorlar. His remains will repose at his late residence from 11 o'clock this morning. Funeral from there on Sunday afternoon at 12:30 for Requiem Mass at 1 o'clock in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorlar, followed by interment in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only, donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Irish Cancer Society, care of McCool's funeral directors or any family member. The house and funeral will be private police to family, neighbours and close friends. The death has taken place of Mervyn Diver, Kilmacrennan Road, Milford. His remains are reposing at the residence of his son Lexi and Patricia Diver, Court, Milford. House private police to family, neighbours and close friends. Funeral service tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock in Milford Presbyterian Church, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral service can be viewed on Patrick Sweeney, Funeral Director's Facebook page. Family flowers only please, donations if desired to Milford Presbyterian Church Repair Fund or Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Patrick Sweeney, Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Dorothy Jane McMahon, Victoria Road, Mahara Mason. A funeral service will take place today at 12 noon in Mahara Mason Presbyterian Church, followed by burial in Milford Presbyterian Church Burial Ground. Family flowers only, donations if desired to Lupus UK, the Heart Foundation or Cancer Research. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Right, now some of your comments here. Hi Greg. Just wondering how GMIT and IT Sligo are doing remote exams, but LYIT students are expected to complete in-person exams in 10 days' time. With cases still rising and a high number of students, they'll be in isolation and unable to attend. Exams went ahead before Christmas. A number of those students tested positive after. This is a risk to our families. We are okay because we are healthy, but not everyone in our families is. Right, okay, by the way, we were talking about those antigen tests that were sent out, the advice was for them to be withdrawn from sale. It was mentioned on this programme that Aldi had stocked them, or may have stocked them. I don't see it as a problem. I don't see any retailer that stocked these in good faith, only later to be found out that they were potentially producing false positives. I don't see that as a slight on any retailer. No one did anything knowingly, and I hope that impression wasn't given as it relates to any retailer. It wasn't their fault, completely not their fault whatsoever. But Aldi didn't ever stock these or sell those particular antigen tests, just to be absolutely clear. But as I say, as it relates to those that did, I don't think they did anything wrong at all. They simply just did what the right thing to do at the time, and they learned after the fact that those particular tests, that one particular brand needs further scrutiny, and then withdraw them from sale. As I say, those things happen, but more than happy to clarify that Aldi never stocked them. Please talk about the strain on Leaving Cert students who were off a good portion of last year, and now they're back in cold classrooms, no teachers, young subs about 2 years older than themselves doing nothing, just supervising them. Schools are not back. It is all pretense. Norma and the government have completely let these young people down again. A decision needs to be made on the Leaving Cert. It is not fair. And we were speaking to, I think, was it Casey yesterday? Who very clearly made that point. A caller says it's time doctors' surgeries get back to some normality and not be quizzing, to be quizzed by a receptionist about your health when you want to make an appointment. Another, can you ask the panel how the Genrua test kit got through to point of sale in Ireland? It's a good question, and I mean, obviously our panel are very well informed, but that is a question for the likes of the Minister for Health, I think, and the HSC, to see what they had to say about it. Fat shaming is wrong, Greg, and that is why Operation Transformation thrives on. Greg, stop talking about a show you haven't seen. I'm very clear in pointing out that I hadn't seen it, and the reason I haven't seen it is because I can't comment on it. So the people that are texting in, comment on it. The panel who have seen it commented on it. If I didn't cover stuff on this programme just because I didn't know about it or didn't see it, that wouldn't be a very good show, would it, at all? So, as I say, I don't comment on it because I haven't seen it. But people who have text in, it's their comments that are read out, and the panel have seen it, and it's their comments. I haven't commented on it because I haven't seen it. We could not handle the hospital long before this sickness. How do you answer this? Indeed. Schools were closed for 15 days, so it's unlikely that staff and pupils are unable to return yesterday. It's unlikely they picked up the infection within school. I think that's generally accepted. Reopening has been difficult, but on balance, the correct decision. It affords pupils a social routine and allows parents to stay at work, especially those on the front line and in the emergency services. Some schools have used their share of the 72 million to improve ventilation. Indeed, that's a very good point. My little one in first class is away today with a vest, thermal long sleeve, t-shirt, jumper, fleece and coat and scarf, hat as well. He said the rain was wetting him before Christmas from the door being open. I'm sure no one in the government or NEFIT is sitting freezing in rooms. Well, maybe they should. Maybe they should. Maybe there should be some sort of a situation where politicians or people in the likes of NEFIT who make these decisions and expect this of younger people, try it for a week, see how they fare. Because let's not forget, the last time students were in schools, windows open and all that type of stuff, our politicians were being protected by having their sittings in the convention centre where they were sitting miles apart at great expense to the taxpayer. So maybe they should do what they expect others to do. Why don't we have the filters? Because the government won't spend the money. They're cheapskates who prefer to spend our money on cruel greyhound racing, says a caller. Another, we are in unprecedented times and children are freezing at school. Children would be better off catching Omicron and staying at home than catching pneumonia and ending up in hospital. It's time principals took sensible measures. No one else works in these conditions. Thank you for that. Thank God John McAteer is clued into how people feel about the return to school. Cold classrooms, no teachers, COVID all around them. It's a disgrace. And last, before we take the bingo numbers, morning Greg, I have family teaching. Yes, they have heavy coats and hats and windows open in all weather. Lunch taken in the classroom or sat in the car, but they still want to be there, especially for exam years. This is a very important few months for teachers and their students. And if you're teaching these children for the past few years, you certainly want to do everything possible for them in the final few months. And teaching from home isn't right for final year students. This is from a family member who's teaching every day. Thank God so far. Right, okay. Good luck if you are playing the bingo today. We'll be back with Seamus Gunn joining us very shortly after the numbers and a quick break. Let's see, where are the numbers? Here they are. Good luck if you're playing.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday, the 7th of January. You're playing on a yellow coloured sheet. The reference number is S5. It's game number 1. The numbers are 64, 46, 68, 77, 65, 13, the number 6, 12, the number 8, and 69. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 p.m. tonight, leaving your name, contact number, and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. Get all your NCBI Radio Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Is 2022 the year you need to change your mattress? Restex Beds Letterkenny, the massive January sale is now on. Sponsors of today's show.
Discover the Dunstores app and put better value at your fingertips. Tap to browse all our latest grocery offers. See all your 10 off 50 grocery vouchers stored in one place and scan your Value Club card to earn points. All within the app, saving you time and money. Plus, download the app today and you'll receive a one-time 10 off 30 welcome voucher. Dunstores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €30 or more.
It's final clearance time at McElhenny's biggest ever winter sale. Grab your bargain of the year with up to 70% off on our women's, men's, kids, jewellery, home and footwear departments. Plus enjoy great sterling exchange for £1 buys you €1.20. So go get what's yours at McElhenny's Ballybuffet or McElhenny's.com with fast delivery and click and collect.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to give blood and to choose to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Letterkenny and Bunbeg should attend the clinic in the Radisson Blue Hotel in Letterkenny from Monday 10th to Thursday 13th of January. To ensure social distancing, all donors need to make an appointment, so call 1-800-731-137 to book your time. New donors are welcome. Visit GiveBlood.ie to check eligibility and clinic details, because we count on you.
If you're concerned about safe grocery shopping right now, what could be safer than doing it from the comfort of your own home? With Click and Collect at Kelly Centra in Letterkenny, you simply download the Centra app, order your shopping and then pull into the car park to collect at a time that suits. Or phone in your order on 91-22026 for no fuss, no contact shopping at Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
If your child is aged 5 to 11, you can now register for their free COVID-19 vaccine. COVID-19 usually causes mild to moderate illness in this age group, but it can cause more severe illness. All vaccines used in Ireland are tested before they're approved by the European Medicines Agency. To find out more or to register, go to hsc.ie or call HSE Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSE.
Okay, and you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Some more of your comments as we wait Seamus to join us. Well done on very well done on highlighting this very unfair exam situation re LYIT, and it is possible, and I'm sure they will come up with a a solution. But of course, even whilst negotiations are going on, as I mentioned earlier on, it's important that people have an opportunity to have their say. My daughter is at college in Maynooth, has a few exams online, but has to go to college for her last 4, all postponed into next semester. Not happy to be heading into an exam room with the number of COVID cases, plus having to go back to accommodation with others. What's the difference in these students in LYIT? Secondary students are sitting in packed rooms with windows open and have no options. Exams can be done in rooms at half capacity and they are safer than school children, but there are options, you see. And, it is they that have the concerns. I'm not saying they shouldn't, it's what they're saying. Right, okay, more here. I'm a teacher myself and my son dropped out last year due to 100% online learning in LYT. They could have been in, like in secondary school students. Okay, I get you. That's the other side of it. Right, Greg, let's get straight here. Do you think the vaccinations are working, boosters included? And for once, be honest and straight about this. I'm always honest and straight. I'm not an advocate for this stuff, by the way. Are they working? Well, I mean, look at ICU. I mean, they're not designed at this point to stop transmission. They're designed to stop people getting sick or dying. In ICU, 50% of people aren't vaccinated. So it's up to you. What do you think? 50% of those in ICU are not vaccinated. So 6% of the country's population accounts for 50% of ICU, the ICU population. Do you believe that to be a success for vaccination or not? It's up to you. It's not for me to give for what I think. I've never told anyone to do anything on this programme ever. We cover public health advice, yes, but you do what you want to do. There's a car crash this morning on the Carn Glenealy Road, so be careful. That was at 8:05, by the way, so I presume that's been cleared, but it's no harm as a reminder to be careful out there on the roads. Okay. I'm delighted to welcome onto the programme now Seamus Gunn of McLaughlin Gunn and Company, Letterkenny and Ramelton, taking your legal questions, of course, and discussing some legal topics of interest. Good morning to you, Seamus. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you as well.
First time since the last,
Yeah, I see a few of these. Cases are coming before the courts down the country anyway. I think it was in Cork, if I'm not mistaken, but I possibly am, whereby people went to court to contest the fines for being outside the 5K or whatever they might be. One judge in particular refusing legal aid and fines of 125, convictions and fines of €125 and so on and so forth are being dished out. Is that the start of it, Seamus? Are we actually starting?
Well, I think, I suppose that, yes, it could be the start of it. How many of them will be processed with the current backlogs? Even today, there's a direction now from the president of the district court curtailing further types of criminal proceedings that would be usually contested in the district court due to the present current situation with the Omicron. So that's going to certainly slow matters up once again if there wasn't even a backlog already. And then you have obviously the high profile kickoff of the Golfgate case yesterday in Connemara. It's going to be interesting to see how that pans out in the coming days. And that's been fully contested. So, yes, it is the start of it. Is there merit in it? I do have my doubts about all of that. And we might have a discussion about that at a later date when that case has concluded. But there seems to be that there are a lot of witnesses to go through, and it's going to take a number of days, and a lot of taxpayers' money is going to go into it as well. So we would like to get through this COVID pandemic and get on with life. And there are other matters, I think, that are more pressing to come before the courts.
Yeah, indeed. You talked about the passage of time and what impact that might have on the processing of a lot of those fines. The passage of time has, to some extent, benefited Pat Hickey out in Brazil. What's the background to that case? I had forgotten about it until it come back onto the headlines this week.
It is interesting because most people have forgot about it. And yet, if ever there was a media frenzy back in 2016, and I have to remind you now, we're coming to 6 years, and the Olympics, the most reported ticket touting case ever hit the headlines. Unfortunately, Pat Hickey at the time was the president of the Olympic Council of Ireland. He was involved with another party, which was a company, THG, and there's a guy by the name of Kevin Mallon. There's also a Brazilian lady in it, a Miss Carnieri. And them three of them have been before the courts since 2016, now 2022. Interesting development during the week. But what I found fascinating about this, Greg, was simply this, that this decision was published on the 18th of October last. It's coming, it has been now in the public domain here this week, but it has been in the court record in Brazil from the 18th of October and has not been highlighted at all. Now, why I'm referencing that is that when there was this frenzy about it at the time, and it was wall-to-wall media, social media, TV, airwaves, it was non-stop for days. It was being televised live, as it developed nearly. Mr. Hickey was, as was Mr. Mallon and Miss Carnieri, were taken into custody for a number of days as well. So they've dropped 3 charges. That's interesting. But they've come up with that because of the passage of time and because of the penalties that they would attract. They believe that there's no real merit in proceeding with them. So they call it, which is a term I never heard before. They mentioned a term called extinction of punishability. So that's the reference that they're using. But what is fascinating is that they've left in the heavier charges. So they've dropped charges such as the first-hand touting. In other words, if you or I were the person selling the ticket, but they've left in the more serious one as the person charged with organising that, and that would attract a bigger penalty. They've dropped the tax evasion charge and using Olympic logos. Again, they would not attract the same type of penalty, but the penalties for those that are still in, which includes larceny, by the way, is 3 to 8 years. Now, in the meantime, Mr. Hickey and Mr. Mallon, Miss Carnieri are innocent. They're innocent parties and will be seen as such, and the trial has yet to take place. They're innocent in the eyes of the law until proven guilty. And they have to return, perhaps, to Brazil to face charges going back. It looks like it's going to be at least 6 years.
And that would be
you have to give them 8 months actually now, even to prepare.
Yeah, exactly, and that'd be interesting because there is a possibility it could be done by video. But I mean, it's very serious allegations, and if there were a conviction, I presume they'd be expected to return for sentencing. But Pat Hickey's got €410,000 sitting in a Brazilian account somewhere as a bond that he had to pay. So obviously that's quite an incentive to engage.
He will have to engage. I think that is probably impractical to be talking about as having it dealt with by video link. Usually, where one's liberty is in jeopardy. Not saying that you will lose your liberty, but if it is in jeopardy, you have to be present in court at that time. So I think every likelihood that they will have to, and if so, to do so, they're entitled to, I think, about an 8 months notice to prepare and to make suitable arrangements. But it's the passing of time, and it's the justice delayed, justice denied point. There's an obligation on the courts, even though they'll accept this, to ensure the litigation is dealt with and concluded in a timely manner. Now, this is far from timely, and you would wonder, is there the appetite there now to see these prosecutions through? I just have that thought as we sort of move forward into the 6th year. But at the same time, it's very difficult for those accused, and you must remember that this has been hanging over them for the better part of 5.5, coming on to 6 years. So surely they would like to see it concluded. But will it ever be fully prosecuted? I think we're just going to have to wait and see. If it isn't, he's entitled obviously to his bond back.
Yeah, all right. Listen, Seamus, stay right where you are because we do have a quick ad break to take, and we'll return with Seamus Gunn of McLaughlin Gunn and Company Letterkenny Ramelton after this break and to answer your questions.
The best place to get a new bed or mattress at a great price is Restex Beds Letterkenny. The massive January sale is now on. Sponsors of today's show.
Do you currently have vacancies that need urgently filled? Have you tried various ways to find new staff but didn't succeed? Let Highland Radio help you source and fill your current vacancies in the most cost-effective way. Simply sign up to our new job spot and we will tell our listeners about your vacancies both on air and online. Every Monday, Wednesday and Friday during our primetime shows, we will broadcast the latest job opportunities across the Northwest and into counties Derry and Tyrone. All job listings will be available online at highlandradio.com. For more information, contact the advertising team on 07491 25322 or email advertising@highlandradio.com. Highland Radio, we're here for you.
The Dunstores Baby event is on now, and we've got big savings on baby products. Like Jumbo Plus packs of Pampers, new baby or Active Fit nappies. Buy one, get one free. And Water Wipes Bio 12 packs, now only €20. That's an amazing €1.67 per pack. Plus, with our 10 off 50 grocery voucher, you save even more. Which means every trip to Dunnes Stores means better value. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €50 or more.
If you've got great photos sitting on your phone or in the cloud, why not visit mcgees.ie and see the range of creative options available. Get larger 7x5 prints for the same price as the standard 6x4s, with 100 prints for just €12. Or select from the great range of photo gifts like mouse and placemats, phone covers, jigsaws and clocks. Click and collect or have them delivered. See what you can do with your favourite photos online at mcgees.ie.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at
10:30. I had a car that was lifted by customs. I live in Northern Ireland, but my girlfriend was driving it when it was lifted. It was damaged when it was being lifted. They accepted they caused the damage. The VRT due on it was 2,000. Now they're looking for 6. I have the car sold, but customs are not in conversation with me on it, and I keep getting fobbed off. How can I move this forward? If I lose the sale of the car, can I make a claim against them, Seamus? It's quite confusing.
I would see it. Well, you'll have to tease this out a little bit more, Greg, but there seems to be an issue with the clearance of the car in the first instance and it being driven within the state, and the question as to whether it is permanently imported without the VRT being paid on it is the question that I would expect that the Customs and Excise are addressing. So that's the point that arises, and that's not entirely clear from the way it is phrased. I know it's accepted it's been driven here. I don't know it's been used here by somebody as a vehicle for their own personal use who is living and residing in the state. And if that is the case, the car should be cleared and the VRT paid on it. In relation to any damage to it, that's, as it were, a second matter, and that would give rise to potential civil claim, maybe in negligence, if one accepts that they were driving someone else's car and they damaged it, and through some fault of their own. Well, then in that situation, certainly you might start with at least providing them with an estimate for the repairs and see where it goes. But that will likely be a matter that, again, I would see being resisted. It could be a quid pro quo where there's a set off potentially if you were trying to sort out the both claims simultaneously, one being set off against the other as to the damage as against the VRT. I doubt that will fly because the VRT will be a separate department run by Customs and Excise. So I would see them as two different cases and would have to be pursued accordingly. To put a call on them, I'd like to know a little bit more about the residency in relation to the clearance of the car.
All right. We've lived in our house for 4 decades. I bought the land and paid for it. Now the person I bought it off is deceased, and her daughter discovered that the land is still in her mother's name. Now she's very good and has agreed she will transfer it to us, but between solicitors and planning, it's almost a year happening. I'm not in great health and want the issue cleared up. Can I do anything, as it's delaying me getting my personal affairs in order?
Well, I would give the caller, or try to give her some reassurance on this point. The fact that it is acknowledged that there is a title problem in relation to the registration of the land is very helpful. it is not unusual for it to take upwards of a year to sort out either a deed of rectification or a transfer and mapping, etc., and then to proceed to register it with the PRA. So that would not cause me an alarm. What I would say to her is this, and the key to the question that I think and the point she makes is that she is concerned about getting her own personal affairs in order. And she's quite correct to address that. But that should not preclude her from including this property in her estate whenever she is making her arrangements. She's quite entitled to refer to it and to bequeath it to whomsoever she wishes. Indeed, if he or she didn't make any arrangements, in my opinion, it would still fall into their estate and be dealt with under the Succession Act on intestacy. So there shouldn't be an issue there. So I would tell her to proceed and get her personal affairs in order, regardless of the fact as to whether the registration of the rectification or the transfer has come true.
All right. I applied for an agricultural loan at the start of 2021. I was approved for this in February 2021, having had property valued and offered as security. The loan could not be drawn down, however, until matters in relation to rights of way were completed by my own solicitor. This process continued for over 7 months, and by the end of September, I informed the bank that too much time had elapsed and the loan was no longer required. An estimate of fees and outlay to the value of €2,475 has now been notified. Am I responsible for the discharge of these fees and also those of my own solicitor? They feel it's been failed by the bank and the solicitor.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think that they should address it with the person who's representing them as to whether they are obligated to discharge them or not. But in the round and just dealing with the points as it arises, and just to try to deal separately with that, in situations where one is getting a bank, there is what's called a letter of offer and acceptance, and it's signed by both parties, and that's, as it were, the arrangement on which to proceed. It's up to the borrower then to produce a marketable title acceptable to the lender, including all accesses, and that's the reference to easements and rights of way here. So when there's an investigation of title, if something arises, that can cause a delay. Hence, the probably delay has occurred in this case. Again, not terribly unusual, but the point is this: the bank are still prepared to give the money. It's now the borrower who has decided that because of the lapse of time, they no longer require it. So they're no longer interested in it. And obviously, during the course of all this, fees have been incurred. So those fees are likely to have to be discharged by some party. But it is the borrower's responsibility to have their title in order whenever they're applying for the loan. So the bank will argue, well, okay, we have gone down the route of getting everything and agreeing to give you the money, and it is you now that has decided not to take it up. So our arrangement, you're unilaterally changing the arrangement. You're not drawing down the loan. So we have incurred these fees and we want you to pay them. That's how it has arisen. It'll be up to their own legal advice to recommend how they wish to proceed and deal with that. But certainly, technically speaking, on title matters, it's up to the borrower to have good marketable title to furnish to the bank. And then what issues is a certificate of title is then drawn, and the money drawn down on foot of that. But that won't issue until such time as all easements, accesses, rights of way, etc., are all dealt with.
All right.
So that's the problem, and I think it can be resolved, but it's likely that if fees are incurred, that'll have to be addressed.
I have been having problems with my Jeep. It's a 182 with the clutch. I bought it brand new from a dealer down the country, and it's paid off. It's been in now 6 times and it's still not fixed, and it's still in the garage. They've changed everything to do with the clutch and still can't resolve this problem. I'm looking about getting a refund for it because I've no faith in it anymore, and I do a lot of driving for work and have 2 young children. How do I go about it, and how much of the original price would I be entitled to? A 182 Jeep with clutch problems from new.
Well, what I would suggest to the caller is that they retain the services of a motor assessor or engineer and to get a full report on the condition of the Jeep at present. We have to bear in mind and be practical here, Greg, at the same time. It is coming to 4 years. It is coming to 4 years old. So we're not going to get a full refund. But at least then they will be well informed as to the value going forward for the purpose of the trade-in. And then they can build into that in the problems they've been having, the ongoing problems and the aggravation in relation to the clutch issue, which seems to be going on for some considerable period of time. And hopefully they will get an appropriate allowance on it. But I would be inclined to engage the services of the motor engineer, because that will be independent of the retailer, the garage, and even the caller themselves. So they'll be putting forward a reasonable case and then build something into the hassle that they've had with the problem in relation to it. They're probably best trying to deal with the garage from that originally provided. I've often seen that in the past, that's the best route to go down and to try to come to a deal with it. It doesn't seem like one that's really worth going into litigation on, given as I said, the Jeep's now coming into its 4th year, and even with a perfect clutch, there's going to be a big knockdown in the price.
Yeah, and it depends on how much mileage they'd have up on it. If they have, say, 70,000 miles on it, someone said, well, the clutch can't be that bad.
Well, yeah, and the inference which is a really good point to make, in that the inference in the question is that I think the caller said they do a lot of mileage or do a lot of driving with their work. So the mileage may be heavy, who knows? Yeah. But they could have it has a dramatic impact on valuations. I do know that. Okay. Whenever you're valuing second-hand cars, mileage is very relevant.
All right, it'd be interesting to see how you can nominate a next of kin without a will, but maybe that'll be answered through the course of this question. If a man dies leaving no will, nominated a cousin as a next of kin, and when he passed away, the next of kin took care of his estate, and he's now wondering, is he entitled to the entire estate, or would it have to be shared amongst his other cousins? This man did not have any children of his own. Only relatives he had were these cousins.
Well, it's wishful thinking on his part if he thinks that he's entitled to the entire estate, because he's noted as next of kin if there's no arrangements in place as is in the form of a will. It's clear from the question as it is phrased that there are next of kin are cousins. It also seems to me that the party has passed away and has passed away without making any arrangements. The point that the caller is making is that this individual has been noted as next of kin. That may have been for medical purposes, hospital or whatever. Whenever you're admitted, that's often the situation. You have to nominate a family member or some close relative, or even some people might even nominate a friend. It doesn't give them any standing in law afterwards. And that's the critical point here. What is required is a grant of representation. That means a grant of administration. And for one, the cousins will all be equal in relation to succession. So they haven't given the number, but let's just say for the case, say there's 5 of them. So there'll be 5 shares. And this individual who was noted as next of kin would similarly be entitled to a 5th. They could take out a grant of representation, or some of the others can. And then the estate would have to be gathered in. Maybe if there was land, property, it'd have to be sold and any of the assets. And then after the payment of all fees and costs and funeral, etc., it would have to be divided equally among them in accordance with the 1965 Succession Act. That's the law on it, and that won't change, and I don't ever see it changing.
All right, 2 more in this area. My mother died 4 years ago, and we're still waiting on her will to be sorted. Surely if the executor fails in his duty, the solicitor should take over.
Well, no, actually the executor has the obligation and is charged with it. The solicitor or solicitors dealing with it are charged with carrying out the instructions of the executor or executors. And so the buck stops with them. What I would say though, and it is useful, if there is an inordinate delay, and there can be good just cause and reasons for delays in dealing with estates. There can be assets in different parts of the world, etc., that have to be gathered in and collected in, etc. But anyway, if there's an inordinate delay, there's what's called the executor's year, and that's a year in which they have to get matters rolling. And if they don't do so, then some other person who is named in the will, maybe a residuary legatee, could make an application by way of a citation to the probate court to have somebody else appointed to move matters on. So that's the way they're looking, but it's not, the solicitor can't just step in and say, well, he'll take over or she'll take over administering the estate. That duty falls with the executor, and it's up to them to give instructions. But of course, they're subject to the probate court if they do not move matters on expeditiously.
All right. Please ask Seamus. My aunt died and left me her property. So the solicitor told me I will get an inheritance tax bill in October. I'm worried sick about it as what happens if I don't have the money to pay this bill. So their aunt died, left them a property. Solicitors advised them that they will face an inheritance tax bill due in October, but they're worried sick about it because they might not actually have the assets available to match that bill.
Yeah. I think the next question, though, they should ask is what's the likely level of tax that they're going to be paying? They didn't indicate what the level of the inheritance is. So, but for the purpose of their standing as a nephew or niece or sibling, brother or sister, their tax threshold at present, subject to correction, is 32,500. So it's whenever you go above that, Greg, that the tax kicks in at 33%. So the first 32 and a half free, and then it's 33% thereafter. The caller hasn't indicated, what level the inheritance is at, but certainly if they're worried about it, they should ascertain what type of tax they will be facing. And as we all know, taxes and preliminary tax all come in towards the end of October. So
But what options are there? I mean, this person may not have even been expecting this. Let's just say the tax bill was €30,000. This has been put on them through no fault of their own. Yes, they might have assets, but what are realistic options they might have? I mean, the
realistic option is that one, they can decide to disclaim completely.
Well,
right. That's an option. If you don't want it, just disclaim it, and it'll go into the estate. It could go into the residue. Leave it for others. Not many people do that, by the way, Greg.
I can imagine.
So, but anyway, number two is to liquidate an asset that would be in the estate in order to pay it. So that, let's say, if it's a property, I think, did they mention a property? If they did say
no,
it,
just inheritance.
Inheritance, yeah. Well, if there was a property, or if it's financial, if it's money.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. Yes, it does. She did say the aunt left her property. Yeah.
Yeah. So the property then is a valuable asset and can go on the market. And pay whatever price they get, then they pay the tax out of the proceeds.
So it's a case of you can't eat your cake and still have it.
Well, in life, that's just not possible, Greg.
Okay. Very lastly, I'm renting.
As in law.
Yes, indeed. Very lastly, I'm renting a property from a housing organisation where it was discovered 2 years ago that there were no firewalls. Brought it to the RTB, where the tenant was awarded €300 for stress and firewalls put in 2 years after the fact. Can the tenant now sue for gross negligence?
I would think that they've gone to the Residential Tenancy Board. They have made a determination on it. That determination would have the same standing, could be converted into a court order. And they have made a determination of €300. And I think that ends the matter, unless they can bring in something that they've suffered some aggravation, stress, etc. as a result. And try to go down that route with some type of common law action, but I wouldn't be overly optimistic about that one.
All right. Seamus Gunn of McLaughlin Gunn and Company. Now, obviously, I could engage with your services in Letterkenny or Ramelton, but let's just say I would like to find out more information online.
Yes.
Is there options?
Greg, I think that's it. And it's a very useful option. Donegalsolicitors.ie, Greg, or just keep it simple, gun.ie. You'll find us there, I think.
Listen, every time. I'm going to check just before I ask you that question to make sure it's up. Thanks, Seamus. Take care of yourself. Right. Bye-bye. Thank you very much indeed. Seamus Gunn of McLaughlin Gunn and Company. Right, it is the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Lots coming up on the programme, including just after 11 o'clock. We'll have Micheal and Fionnuala in chatting all things entertainment. We'd love to have your involvement in that if you've been watching anything or you went to see something or whatever it might be. But it's a little later than we normally do. We're going to take a piece of music. This is Bon Jovi. Right, that's Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi. It is the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. We'll be back with more after we take this break.
Is 2022 the year you need to change your mattress? Restex Beds Letterkenny, the massive January sale is now on. Sponsors of today's show.
Want to accelerate the growth of your new business? Entrepreneurs in Derry City and Strabane District Council areas can now apply for a new Startup Accelerator programme. Eligible participants can avail of free professional support, access to incubation facilities and business grants. The programme is open to businesses who are currently on or have recently completed the Go For It programme. To apply, contact your local enterprise office, Enterprise Northwest or Strabane Enterprise Agency. This project is funded by the UK Government through the UK Community Renewal Scheme.
Getting together might take a bit more planning this year. Before you do, remember to first think RSVP. Risk, symptoms, venue, people. Risk. What's the risk? Am I vaccinated or have I got my booster? Symptoms. Am I currently showing symptoms of COVID-19? Venue. Are they following the guidelines? Will I be wearing a mask? And people. How many people am I meeting? How many households are coming together? Let's all RSVP ahead so we can stay safe this year. Find out more at gov.ie/risk aware. Supported by the Government of Ireland.
Hello?
This is your call to make a real difference. Aware are here for people living with depression and bipolar disorder. Now more than ever, we need your help for our phone and online support teams. You can change someone's world from your own home. Volunteer now at aware.ie. Proudly supported by Cadbury Dairy Milk.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure has everything you need to gear up for the GAA season this year. Get your hands on the brand new Donegal GAA home jersey, available in men's, ladies and kids, or gear up the whole family for pre-season and match days with the new Harlem range of sweaters, leggings and snoods at michaelmurphysports.ie.
It's final clearance time at McElhenny's biggest ever winter sale. Grab your bargain of the year with up to 70% off in our women's, men's, kids, jewellery, home and footwear departments. Plus enjoy great sterling exchange for £1 buys you €1.20. So go get what's yours at McElhenny's Ballybuffet or mcelhennys.com with fast delivery and click and collect.
At Doherty's Central Moville, it's our January better than half price sale. Centre Fresh Irish pork loin roast, now only $5.35 per kg. Nestle cereal range and all your back to school lunch needs. 3 for 2, mix and match, fruit and veg. 4-pack tomato tray, parsnip tray, carrot bag, avocado, family apple bag, banana pack and broccoli. All at Doherty's Central Moville.
Backstage Bar and Grill is open for breakfast, lunch and dinner 7 days a week. If you are looking for a healthy option this January, we have a great selection of delicious salads, sandwiches and more. We also have a tasty vegan menu. Call Century Complex on 07491 21976 to book your table.
The Restex Beds and Furniture Winter Sale is now in full swing at our Letterkenny store, supplying only the finest quality, luxurious Irish-made beds and mattresses, with genuine savings throughout our range. We look forward to seeing you at the Restex Beds and Furniture Winter Sale.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Now, just for you sports fans out there, that Donegal, of course, start the new year with their opening game in the Dr. McKenna Cup this evening. It's in Ballybuffet. Declan Bonner's side will face Down and McCool Park, and there'll be full match commentary with Oisín Kelly and Martin McHugh from 7:30pm. You can throw in on our website, highlandradio.com. And remember, it's free of charge, of course. Brilliant team, of course, Oisín and Martin. They will bring ball-by-ball commentary for you from the Dr. McKenna Cup. Donegal starting off their new year against Down. Throw in 7:30. Highlandradio.com. Go to highlandradio.com. It's exclusive there, and you won't miss a thing. Right, 086 60 25,000. That's the text line, 086 60 25,000, or call 07491 25,000. I applied online to renew my passport on Tuesday morning last. The passport was delivered yesterday morning. Is this a record? Less than 48 hours turnaround. Yeah, it sounds pretty good, doesn't it? I wouldn't be complaining at that. Nice one. Okay. I thought there was a huge backlog. I wonder. Maybe you just got lucky. Who's to say? I'm a primary teacher off school at the moment as I've been sick all of Christmas. Not with COVID. I'm dreading returning to a freezing classroom, windows open and temperatures very uncomfortable. The classroom conditions do not help keep colds at bay. We're all freezing and no sign of air filtration units anytime soon. I agree, get the politicians and ministers to come and see what these environments feel like themselves. They would not last an hour. Yeah, stand with the people. Go in and have one of your Oireachtas committee meetings sitting in a classroom right next door to someone with a mask on, with the windows open, and in some cases not being able to put on extra layers of clothing. Get in there and see what it's like. Maybe a council meeting could be held in that environment. That would be interesting too, wouldn't it? Receptionists in GP's office, if they don't ask the medical questions over the phone, they won't be in a job for very long. There is an order sent down by the doctors to get this information. People are very quick to make comments about receptionists, but no one comments on the doctors who are handing down these orders. Now, I've never heard actual criticism of receptionists. What we hear in this programme is, and they describe receptionists as receptionists, it's not, there's no insult in there, is that they don't feel comfortable divulging their personal medical information to someone who is not their doctor. Now, that doctor-patient relationship, much has been made of that, of course. You know, the bedside manner, that close relationship. They understand me. And a lot of GPs have traded off that. And many people have been doing that for many, many years, 50 years perhaps, in fact. So I don't think it's unreasonable for people to then feel uncomfortable to be passing on this private medical history or private medical situation, particularly if it's something, I don't know, to do with the lower part of the body or something. I don't think it's unreasonable for people to not be comfortable giving that information to someone who's not the doctor. And I don't think that's a criticism of receptionists. I think it's a perfectly understandable concern that many people have. Some don't care. They'll tell you they're what's going on with them standing in the street or over a cup of coffee. But some people, it's very personal, it's very private. Maybe it's even generational. And I can understand and I empathise with them that they are not comfortable relating this personal private information to someone who's not their GP. And in them expressing that, in my view, is not a criticism of receptionists. It's how they feel. And I respect how they feel because it is they who feel it. Okay, it is time to take a quick break as we head towards the news at 11. Stay right where you are.
The best place to get a new bed or mattress at a great price is Restix Beds Letterkenny. The massive January sale is now on. Sponsors of today's show.
Payment of the local property tax for 2022 is due by Wednesday the 12th of January. If you haven't yet paid or made arrangements to pay or haven't already filed your LPT return, please do so now. The easiest way to file and pay is online through My Account, Ross or the LPT portal. If you select the annual debit instruction option, your payment won't be debited until the 21st of March. If you need help or can't go online, call Revenue on 01 738 3626.
Love what you do, and you'll never work a day in your life, says old Mr. Brennan. That's why our bakers make such great tasty bread. From our bagel bakers to our bakehouse craft bakers and our Be Good bakers. I like a more traditional baker myself, says I. Well, to see, our family pan bakers still bake our famous slice pan fresh every morning. However you slice it, anything baked is better with Brennan's. Today's bread today.
Sheridan Security now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Store and Go Springtown Dairy, the north of Ireland's only temperature-controlled smart access individually sized storage units.
Store and Go offers storage for personal storage, house moves and renovations, business storage for excess stock or filing systems. Once signed up, you can access 24 hours a day through an app on your phone, gaining access through 4 levels of security to your most precious possessions.
Call Store and Go Springtown Dairy on 02871 278 900 to discuss your needs and get bespoke advice, or get a free quote at storeandgo.net.
A very good morning. You are tuned to your number one local radio station. This is Highland Radio, broadcasting across the region on air and across the world online, and for you to watch on our social media channels. Fionnuala and Michael joining us very shortly, but it's 11 bells, it's 11 o'clock, it's time for a news update, and it's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The HSE's Chief Clinical Officer says Omicron is having a huge impact on staff numbers. It's estimated that as many as 15,000 HSE staff are absent due to COVID-19. However, public health officials says it appears Omicron isn't causing as many hospitalisations as previous variants. Dr. Colm Henry says frontline staff who are close contacts but have no symptoms may be asked to return to work. Well, Letterkenny University Hospital is dealing with 62 infectious cases. That's down slightly on yesterday's figure, but remains the second highest in the country. 4 infectious cases are in ICU. A former Assistant General Manager, meanwhile, at Letterkenny University Hospital says the hospital, like many others, is currently running at close to 100% capacity and was doing so before the effects of the pandemic took hold. Paddy Rooney told Greg Hughes on today's 9 till noon show that this effectively means the hospital cannot cope with surges in demand. He said it's a particular problem when it comes to the numbers presenting in the emergency department. Well, there's been a slight fall in the number of admitted patients awaiting beds at the hospital, with 30 people waiting this morning, down 9 from yesterday. 4 of them were on emergency department trolleys. Students of Letterkenny Institute of Technology are calling for remote exams to be introduced. Last week, the college announced that all Semester 1 in-person exams were being postponed until a later date due to rising cases of COVID-19. 2 options have since been proposed. One is that students sit Semester 1 exams in May, along with other scheduled exams, or on January the 17th. LYIT President Paul Hannigan says there are ongoing meetings with the Student Union and says it wouldn't be right to comment until such discussions conclude. And An Post says deliveries in some rural areas are being impacted by staffing shortages. The company says a spike in COVID-related absences has placed a temporary strain on its resources. It says the worst impact is being felt across its meals and parcels network and at some post offices, with some having to temporarily shut. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Thank you, Michaela.
If your child is aged 5 to 11, you can now register for their free COVID-19 vaccine. COVID-19 usually causes mild to moderate illness in this age group, but it can cause more severe illness. All vaccines used in Ireland are tested before they're approved by the European Medicines Agency. To find out more or to register, go to hsc.ie or call HSE Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSE.
Okay, that theme tune can mean only one thing. It means it's time for the entertainment slotty thing. Oh, that's entertainment, which I've come to call it, but it hasn't really caught on. Good morning to you, Michael Leddy, writer and blogger. How are you?
Good morning. Happy New Year to you, Greg Hughes. Wishing you a happy, healthy 22.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
And also a very good morning to Fionnuala Rabbit. Hi, Fionnuala. Hi, how are you keeping?
Tickety-boo.
It's good to have both of you with us. I'm going to start with Don't Look Up. Did you watch it, Fionnuala?
Yes.
You
I did.
And
you
watched it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right, who wants to start, Fionnuala? It's brilliant.
Yeah,
No.
I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it now, as in it is watchable and there was a couple of laughs in it. There was a couple of things in it. One, you kind of wondered a little bit of what was the point of it. I know they were saying it was for environmental, but to be honest, I'm more concerned about an asteroid at the moment because NASA just sent up a missile into outer space to knock an astronaut off its course. So now I think there's definitely an asteroid coming. I'm all into the conspiracy of it. So
that asteroid's passing over 1 million miles away from.
Yeah, they say that though.
No, well, the Earth's atmosphere extends that far.
Yeah, no. Oh, I know, but I'm saying with the whole this thing now.
You really are going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
You're actually going to argue this. Okay.
Oh yeah, now that they've actually sent up the missile to try and knock one off its course, I'm like, oh yeah, it's totally happening. There's something on the way.
Fionnuala sounds knowledgeable, but does she know Kate Winslet's name? Because that always seems to trip you up. So I'm going to ask you.
Well, you just asked me, did I know Kate Winslet's name?
I'm still waiting for it, but I'm still waiting for an answer.
So come on, review it. Stop talking about your conspiracy theories.
No. But so my thing about it was, I did think some of it was very good. I really liked how in it the professor even ends up getting so involved in the fame of it and the whole celebrity side of it, which is very much kind of the way life sort of works at the moment now, that you kind of get caught up in that type of thing. I wasn't really, and I did think there was an amount of truism in it, as in
everything about it was true.
In the event of anybody saying anything, in the event of such a thing occurring, and even like in the event of, as we say, if we take out the asteroid and we put in climate change, which is what we're told, that's that was the main focus of it. That is the attitude that people have. Well,
of course it is, and
we'll worry
we've
about
seen
that down the road.
Very recently, a guy who is an environmentalist went on a station in Britain. It's widely circulated, and he starts talking about climate change and the importance of climate change, and then he's challenged about, but you build houses, don't you? And he says, yes. What with wood? And he goes, yeah. He says, well, that's not good for the environment. And then he goes, well, it is really, because it's sustainable. We can grow more trees. And then he goes, well, you can grow more concrete. That is the level. It's not. It's challenging it. It's not saying, actually, you know what? It's pretty evident what's happening in this world.
Yeah.
It's actually either making light of it or, challenging it as if it can't be true. And the important thing I think about Don't Look Up is that the only time anyone actually cared about it was when they could physically see the asteroid.
Oh, when they looked up.
When they looked up, yeah.
And there will come a point when everyone on this earth, when climate change becomes more understandable for us all, that they'll go, oh my God, why have we been doing nothing? This is hurtling towards us. I mean, even for that alone, I think the whole film was worth being made.
Yeah, but at no point did anybody say why, yes, they finally believed it when they saw it, but at no point was there like a mass panic where people were saying, why didn't anybody do anything about it?
There's inevitability then.
I know, but that's
at that point, it's inevitable. And we are almost at the point of inevitability. So then you
But do you not think that based on that movie, we're already there?
Well, no, because the scientists tell us. See, we're doing
No, I meant as a people, not about the science. I'm saying as in, take out the science of it now and talk about the people. Because really what this was about, I thought, more than the science, was about the reaction. As in showing you the reaction of the political...
no, the politicians.
The politicians were taking one side, but even the public were. You know what I mean? The media.
But where did the public get their information from?
No,
and there was a cohort of people who sourced their own information that says, no, this is serious. Why is no one listening? They were the ones out marching on the street. And then you had another going, don't look up. It's all a load of nonsense. And then you're out. It's exactly what we're seeing really right now, as far as I'm concerned.
And I don't disagree with you there, but what I'm saying is that in it, at no point, even when they saw it, did anybody say... even at the point that they saw it, at no point was anybody screaming and roaring and going, what should we do? What should we do?
But we are very close to that point in terms of climate change already now, that, it's too late when everyone feels it, At that point, you have your Christmas, you have your dinner, and you sit around the table and you say, well, no one listened. Here we are. What can you do? The anticipation of death is worse than death itself. At that point, everyone knows, well, the die has been cast. it's only 8 hours until this thing hits us. It was so late in the day that they actually saw her. I'm not spoiling it for anyone because
No, I don't think that's a spoiler.
And I don't know. What do you think, Michael?
I really hated this movie.
Why though?
I think there's two things at play here. There's the message, which I think is excellent, and there's the movie, which is a mess. It's too long. It goes back to the same characters. We saw too much of the American president. We saw too much of the tech billionaire. It has certain tropes.
They are the key. No,
but it overused them.
Because that tech billionaire was Elon Musk.
Yes.
He was Bill Gates. He was everyone.
But we saw him
now. He was Elon and he was Jeff.
And he was
Jeff Epstein and all those.
Yes.
No, Jesus, not Jeff Epstein.
Sorry.
What?
Just before we all end up in court.
Good heavens above. Allegedly.
No.
If you say allegedly, you're all right.
Bezos.
Bezos, yeah.
My apologies to Mr. Bezos.
Of course. But no, I just thought, in terms of just looking at the film, and again, the critics have not embraced this.
Critics, I'll tell you why the critics haven't embraced it. Because the critics are the same people who are buddies with the politicians and are buddies with the media, and this falls too close to home.
But I'll tell you.
It falls too close to home.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you why the critics haven't embraced it. It's not a good film.
It's a brilliant film.
It's not a good film.
No. Take out the message. It's not a great film.
Take out the message. Oh, excellent. Take out the message. It's not a great film.
I mean, like,
it's not a great film.
None of the characters were very well fleshed out.
Okay.
No.
So you didn't even particularly care when one of the characters suddenly went rogue.
Didn't care.
You didn't particularly care with the one character that really stuck with it the whole time. At no point did you feel at all for that character as a character.
Agreed.
If you take it I fully think what you're saying is I think that you needed the American president.
Okay, let's just take...
You needed the tech billionaire because there is so many of them now in this world that are doing
using
so many
him too
different
much
things.
defeated the purpose.
But I just think as a general thing, the movie, as a movie, forget about the fact of whether we're all doomed. As a movie, it didn't really.
All right, let's say
stand up very well.
Leo DiCaprio.
It was very Netflixy movie.
And there was a whole B story with Leo DiCaprio.
Yeah, but let's just
Who cares about that whole
let's just say
thing with the romance?
His character, but no, because
it was about him getting sucked into the fame.
Yeah, but you could do that in one scene instead of 7 scenes.
No, he was bored, right? He started off being with what's that lady?
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence's character.
Yes.
He started off being shoulder to shoulder with her.
Yes.
And as soon as he got a little bit of taste of that celebrity, a little bit of that show business,
he flipped. Yeah.
And we can see this right now in this country, right, where when people are talking about COVID, experts all of a sudden they're never off certain radio stations and they change. Change. It's like, you know what? This is over soon, where everything's going to be fine. It's coming down the line.
Spotlight.
I was watching it and I was saying, I know who that is, right? And the Jennifer Lawrence character stuck to her guns the whole time. She stuck to her guns the whole time.
But again, could you not have done that? This is 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Could you not have done the same story better in 90 minutes or 95 minutes by only seeing the American president a couple of times, only seeing Mark Rylance a couple of times? And again, yes, you could still show DiCaprio's character getting sucked in, but it's like look at it this way. If a guy showed up at your house in the middle of the night shouting and roaring that the house is on fire, that's a good thing. But if he's still roaring and shouting at you as you phone the brigade, he's still roaring and shouting at you as you get your children to safety, he's still roaring and shouting at you as you get your dog out of the garage, there's a point where you'll be like, mate, shush. It's okay, we're sorted now. The brigade are here. Okay. Stop shouting and roaring. You'd be like, that guy's annoying me now, even though what he did was excellent. He saved your house. He saved your life.
I think it's a little bit like, and it's completely different. But that your comedian that you like so much, what's his name? Ryan Reynolds.
Kate Winslet.
Ryan Reynolds. His film where he's in a computer game. I enjoyed that the whole way through because the references. I enjoyed the references that went along. With this film. I didn't feel it was very long. I got the references that they were trying to make, and the what we see and as it unfolds. I thought at times it actually really was quite funny, and I thought it was satirical. And I didn't need characters. I didn't need to invest in characters, to be honest with you, no more than I might with a sketch on Saturday Night Live.
It was very like I said that in my review.
I didn't feel I had to engage with them.
Did you guys see?
I agree with everything you're saying there now, in that I really did see the bits, where they were going with it, and I thought some of it was really clever, some of it was very funny, but I did think
the astronaut was great.
To put it up against just taking it as a movie.
No, well, it doesn't stand on its own.
It didn't stand on its
No.
own as a movie, and in that sense, then it was a bit long. And I know friends of mine that have said to me, "Oh no, I watched it now. Jeez, God, it was a bit long." And I think that can be off-putting for people as well. Even when
I think
it's
I
2.5
watched it in
hours.
3 stages, if I'm honest.
You see, this is the
because
thing. You know, I can't.
you know,
I could never watch a movie in 3 stages.
but I never could before.
I know.
But I've got other people. I've got other little people in my life now
circumst-
that make those decisions for me.
Ron
know, and I
Perlman
think
was
that
very
that's the
good
thing.
as the astronaut, but one of the reasons I thought he was excellent was we only saw him twice. And he was excellent both times.
Yeah.
I swear, if Meryl Streep had been in this for 2 big scenes, I would be raving about her. But
I thought she was good in it,
But his character was clever.
And the son was brilliant. In it.
Yeah,
he just was like again. You could pick about 6 different political types.
But his
that
character,
are
his character was brilliant, right? But what I also thought was clever is then, really, he wasn't. He was just a really racist, sort of inappropriate kind of
Completely, yeah.
character,
Completely.
and that was being brought. In other words, we're going to send him up.
His spiel,
He's
when
going to
he was
make
in
the
the
world a
spaceship
great.
was
Exactly, and it was
hilarious,
just
yeah.
like, right, so everyone's not quite the hero you might think they are. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah, of course.
I don't know.
No,
It's the same director and writer who did Vice. Did you guys see Vice?
Yes.
A couple of years ago. Did you like Vice?
I seem to recall liking it.
Okay.
I don't remember it at all.
I seem to recall liking it. And I just wonder, we've talked in the past, Micheal and Fionnuala as well, but I think it might slightly predate when we were together as a threesome, where, films were made on contemporary political characters, okay?
Yes.
And the critics seem to judge them based on their political leanings,
Yes.
right? So
That's
if a
true.
film was made and it was particularly favourable to the Democrats, for example,
Yes.
you could almost see a
Predict.
split as to who liked it and who
Can
didn't.
I-
And I get a sense of that with this film, that
Here's the thing about
what you
this.
think about
Yeah,
climate change
fair
and,
enough.
and stuff.
I absolutely agree, but here's the thing. We've talked about the critics, but if you go to Letterboxd, which is the social media film platform, again, it's the same thing. They're not professional critics. They're not friends with these people, but it's either love it or hate it.
I
It's
think people
Marmite.
don't like being talked down to or whatever. I don't know. I think
agreed.
because it's
That
such
happens.
I think it's such I think it's such an important and live issue and something that we're living through at the moment. I think that maybe people.
Oh yeah.
But I think I think that's exactly what happened. Like I have, we all watched it in our house, and everybody knows now there's a shed load of us, and like those in the family that are very into climate change, recycling. One of my siblings now is like they have bees. They go out planting trees at the weekend as a family.
Bees
and
go planting trees?
Amazing bees.
Amazing bees.
His honey is delicious, I have to say.
Which bee? What's the bee's name?
I don't know what his bees eat, but it's yummy. But anyways, they have bees and they go out planting trees, and they're all about the environment, and they loved it. Then you get Fionnuala, who's a little bit harsher on life and
maybe.
cynical about life.
Cynical, yeah.
I still think it's
And
the divide between the message and the movie.
but I think that's
I think one
but I think that's
influences
what
the other.
happens. I think that's what happens as to whether you like it or not. Is a lot of people. She didn't think it was too long. She didn't think anything.
No.
You know what I mean? She accepted all of the things in it because she went in there with the message, whereas I went in there kind of came out of it going, well, sure, what can we do now?
Yeah,
It's
see,
coming now. Anyways, there's
In
nothing
terms
you can do.
of, I'm not
So-
going to be honest. I am going
the
to be honest.
message was strong in it. So
I'm not really. I think it's maybe because of the job that I do. Like, I'm not going to lie. I'm not really passionate about the environment. I try and do bits and bobs here and there, but I'm not.
Be honest,
you
yeah,
know,
of
I'm
course.
not that
Nothing
type.
wrong
So
with that.
it wasn't hitting me in that regard, right? But I think to even say, for instance, with the issue of COVID we're at the moment, okay, there's an awful lot in that. So you've got scientists,
Yes.
you've got the world scientists saying one thing, and then you maybe have 50,000 sort of saying another thing, and because that's what people want to hear, and because that's an easier message,
They embrace it.
well, that you fully embrace that, and you will argue that to the day you die. So
even take climate change out of the equation, the film's observations on the way the world works
was
at the
very
moment
interesting.
are very, very good. Very, very
and
good.
it could have really been on any subject.
yeah,
agreed.
that's
I
didn't
as
really
say,
get the climate
could have been
change.
about the asteroid.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been about that
It could
asteroid.
have been about the asteroid,
Yeah.
but it could have been about
Asteroid
COVID.
Winslet.
You could put lots of different things into it.
I don't know.
I think
what are you
going
to give it out of 10?
5.
Yeah, I have to say, as a movie,
Well, that's nonplussed, really. 5 is take it or leave it.
It's below average for me, and it's 55% on Rotten
I would
Tomatoes.
probably
so it's
go
not
about
On
average.
6.
audience.
Oh, I don't know. I never look at the audience.
Yeah,
no,
well,
you're smart. Go look at the audience.
I'd probably go around 6.5 because I did enjoy elements of it. I thought some of it was quite witty, and I have to say I do think it was very smart in when it picked like the leader, you know what I mean, the type of character that they'd made the leader, the sycophants that were following the leader.
Listen, politicians
the way
adjust the news cycle, right, to suit them. And that's exactly what the president did in that. She adjusted the news cycle to suit her completely. And whatever else came from that, it didn't matter. Obviously, it was overplayed and hammed up, right? You could see other people in there doing that same thing.
Yeah, we'd never have an American president going from scandal to scandal to scandal.
And then, right, at a point where they were making a decision how to deal with this, the big business were able to influence them that right at the brink of maybe resolving it, that they changed.
When you could have fixed it.
When you could have fixed it. You know what? Actually, there's an angle here.
Yeah, and the observations were razor sharp. I really think they were observations. But it's like, anyone who's a writer will tell you this. When you write a script or you write a story, the second draft is the hard one. It's where you have to go through it with a biro and go, don't need that, don't need that, don't need that. I think Adam McKay didn't do step 2. That's my honest. And that's my problem with the film. Not with the message. And I think the observations are razor sharp. I really do.
Yeah.
But you could have got the same observations in a 95-minute film. You really could have. I just believe that.
Yeah. Well, it probably would have been tight. It might have been tighter as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, too, my attitude kind of changed a little bit when, you know, obviously the likes of Leonardo DiCaprio went on the lecturing circuit then. Then I'm starting to say, hold on, it was a film and I got it and I can take from it but I don't need, I don't need you to come now doing interviews to drive the message home. I'm aware of it.
Yeah, particularly, and I know he says he's an environmentalist, but he also flies all over the world.
Of course, yes.
And has like yachts and stuff.
But,
and you're kind of like,
buddy,
now.
You are
asking me to recycle the packaging along my apples come in.
You really are now almost within the film because that is the type of arguments that were being made to these people.
I know, but you're kind of like when they're asking me to,
But what about us?
Did I recycle my cardboard cornflakes box?
Yes,
and they're flying all over the world on their private jets.
What about our individual? We do what we can individually, and then an awful lot happens collectively. And if maybe you and I and all of the people that go and see Leonardo DiCaprio in films, maybe if he sees that actually, we're taking lead, he might go, you know what, I need to show some leadership and example here.
I don't
know.
But he already seems to think that he's showing me leadership and example by flying around.
Yes, but that's like millionaires asking us to donate to St. Vincent de Paul, which is a fantastic charity.
Yes.
Everyone should and we can. But the instant thing that comes into my mind is, well, are you going to dig in a little bit here, or is it just your time? That's enough.
Yeah.
Agreed, yeah. That's a deep conversation, and I agree, yeah, you do ask those questions,
I know.
So I'm going to give it 8 or 9 out of 10 for film.
Wow.
For the film, because I just thought it was very clever. I think it was very well put together.
Yep.
I think it was made during the pandemic, which they did quite well in that regard.
Yeah. Jennifer Lawrence had a chip on her tooth. Did you read this? During the film, and because of restrictions, couldn't get to a dentist, so they had to digitally add a tooth.
What was wrong with having a chipped tooth?
I know.
They just decided they didn't want. There was probably a focus group that said, "No, that film won't work with the chipped tooth."
Some poor bugger on work placement spent 6 months filling in her tooth in a darkened room.
That's good. Good give them work.
And there's a scene in it too, about 108 minutes in, 1 hour and 8 minutes in, when the camera crew are shown.
Yes, a famous scene.
Which I thought, wow, I've spotted this. As it turns out, everyone did, and it was sort of they claim a tip of the cap. I believe it was a mistake.
Do you think so? I think it was McKay being I think McKay's film is too clever, just too good. He's just and this is another nod to you know what, folks, this is really happening kind of thing. I think it was deliberate.
Well, Blanche Gormley says, good morning all. I totally agree with you, Greg, on all of what you have to say about Don't Look Up. So that's the only
very good.
Nothing
So
coming in. Nothing coming in agreeing with you.
That's
you're just
ignoring
the rest.
The messages agreeing with us.
The rest
ignoring those messages. The 7 messages that said, you know what, Micheal and Fionnuala are dead on. Craig's now got no time for those.
So before we move on, then, do you recommend? If someone says, "Should I watch it, Michael?" What do you say to them?
I think I was recommending it to someone last night. I think it's divisive. And because it's so divisive, you honestly don't know if you're meeting someone who hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
You don't know if they're going to love it or hate it.
I can't understand how, and this is not to question you, by the way, how you can recommend it to someone based on you believing it's a turkey.
Because I love to hear what someone else has to say.
Okay.
I love listening to what you have to say. And somebody else, like I did recommend, we were doing rehearsal last night, a small number of us for our play. One of the lads hadn't seen it. 2 of us had. We recommended it to him. And we want to see him to see it, so he gets back to us next week. And the other guy loved it. I hated it. Now we got a third one and third wheel.
Yeah.
And you want to hear what people say. And it's great that we're talking about these things. Like, I follow on Twitter, It's Already Too Late, which is a very depressing feed, but it's all these scientific reports about climate change.
Follow that.
Yes.
And it's well worth following. It keeps you abreast of the fact that we are in a very bad shape on this planet. So it's great.
Really ostriching the whole situation.
But yeah, we are. But the thing is,
That'll
so
see
if
you
it gets
through.
people talking about that, even just talking about it, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
Even if it's a bad film.
I mean,
No, it isn't
Which
a
I
bad
mean,
thing. And it
people
does
say-
have people talking about it, which is the main thing, and people are discussing.
I just wish we all could, like people go, say for instance, and they're perfectly right in that, our grandchildren and our grandchildren's grandchildren will be paying the debt that this government or previous governments got us into. It's an absolute disgrace. But climate change doesn't exist. Now, I'm not saying it's always those two views, but so we can imagine the impact our actions are having now on future generations. Some of us can. And I'm saying they're not the same people, by the way, in case people are saying I'm grouping them in, I'm not. But then at the same time, you could go, climate change? Pfft, that's for another generation to worry about, not ours. You know? And I just
But you know something? I read an interesting piece a couple of years ago, and the long and the short of it was that people, as a rule, don't even think about their own death.
No.
Really?
And the
I
process,
literally
you think about it a lot,
spend about my entire life thinking about it. Yeah.
So the
I have a list
idea
of
of
songs
thinking
for my funeral.
You have, haven't you? Yeah.
It's a torture.
I didn't get
it's
that
a
email,
torture.
by
I
the
do
way. I
anything
need to
relieve
get my so I
myself
can
of it.
vote for you. But the thing is, so people can't even process the idea of everything ending.
Yeah.
That the mass extinction is
I
happening.
think I'm a bit like that. I
Yeah.
think it's the idea of.
It's very human, I think.
You kind of just assume it'll sort itself out.
Yeah.
I realise it's not going to sort
it's not going
itself
to.
out
It's not
without a
going
lot of assistance when my logical brain comes in. But when I think about an ice age type, like an ice age type event, which is what this is indicating, that's what's going to happen. Like even when I was watching that, even when I was watching the Don't Look Up thing, like with the asteroid and that kind of thing, the meteoroid, and I'm kind of like going. I've seen a lot of apocalyptic movies. It'll take a bit longer. If it lands over here, it'll take a bit longer to get over here.
Yeah.
But the sure look at everything will be a grand attitude is exactly what this entire film is about.
It is.
Yeah. There's a very, very
could see myself
passionate,
in it,
and
too.
I've mentioned this before, but there's a very, very passionate climate change grouping, right? Probably 3% that actually will glue themselves to the road over the head of this, right?
Yeah.
There is maybe probably 15, 20% who think it's all a load of nonsense. It's the New World Order, another control, some conspiracy. Well, but they believe it, but I understand that.
Yeah,
and then there is 85% in the middle, of which I would place you respectfully, who are nonplussed that it's, you know what?
Yeah. Yeah, I have, you have your recycling bin and you're doing your bin, that kind of thing. But I mean, I do.
Driving around in your hybrid car on petrol all the time. But look at
no, but you have I wouldn't mind buying a hybrid car. But you have your recycling and you're doing your few bits and pieces like that.
But we
like
shouldn't
that.
be
You're
just
doing
leaving
what you're
it.
being asked.
I think the
but I
bottom
don't
line
know.
here is we shouldn't be leaving it to those bees to plant trees.
Yes.
We should all be planting trees. Those little bees are tiny. They're planting very tiny little trees.
And how many legs do they stand on whilst they're planting the trees? Because do they use 4
They're awesome
arms?
bees. They're Galway bees. Obviously,
They're Galway bees.
Awesome.
They should have sent Bruce Willis up at the start to sort it out. Rubbish film. Yeah. A return of series of Father Brown on BBC One at 1:45 p.m. Okay, thank you. At least the film has stimulated more discussion on climate change and the human condition. I think it's open to debate more on the human condition than climate change,
which I find really interesting.
I still think that Mark Ruffalo could have carried the DiCaprio character better. Right, okay.
Oh.
Did you watch Stay Close? What's Stay Close? Is that on Netflix?
Stay Close is it's the the new Harlan Coben thing. It has been on BBC and it's on Netflix.
Who's in it?
It's a 6-parter. I haven't actually started yet. Everybody's watching it at the moment.
I watched the first episode and bailed.
Oh,
if it's the one I'm on, if it's the Yes, we'll think of names.
I'm trying. Yeah, I know. What is it?
Kate Winslet.
No. The guy from James Nesbitt's in it.
I didn't.
Sorry, that's what I was trying to think. James Nesbitt's in it. No, actually, most people are big into it. I'm surprised you didn't like it because I have it planned now for the weekend. Because the only thing I was going to say about it is if you liked it, there is at least 6 Harlan Coben, the same author, different shows in lots of different languages on Netflix. And remember, we were talking about The Woods. Back in the day about those kids going in and out of the wood that were on like a summer camp and that back it was in Polish. I think it was Polish anyways. There's 3 or 4 of his all of his books I think have been picked up now by
adapted
I've been adapted and a lot of them are in foreign language
adaptations.
Thank you.
Now, none of you watch Emmerdale? A caller says, "Are you watching Emmerdale at the minute? If so, what's your thoughts?"
No, I'm not over. No.
Now, I
was addicted to Emmerdale, so I had
to on in the
away.
background. If it is Emmerdale, I think Emmerdale's the one with the Mina character in, right? And like, I cannot believe they're getting away with this. It's like a 125-hour version of Misery or The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Like, this woman is never off the screen. She's, I presume, a serial killer. But it goes on and 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 on. I can't believe they're dragging so long out of this storyline. I mean, it could be interesting maybe, but it is like the longest ever remake of Misery. You know,
that was such a great film.
Who's a celebrity in Emmerdale?
No.
Now I want to watch it.
Did I say celebrity?
No,
but I'm saying you said Misery, so I'm assuming it's like
it's you know, in other words.
Does she have somebody held captive?
She's had somebody held captive and she's gone around killing people and all this type of stuff, but it's just going on and on and on and on.
Soaps are great crack, but it's just the time element for me. That's my honest. Now, I was always more into the American soaps, but a good buddy of mine who's a writer has always said how Coronation Street it has always been one of the best written shows on TV. I've never been a fan. But he said
Emmerdale is the best soap on TV.
Okay.
It's just so good. Everything about it is so good. Emmerdale. It's the best one.
Do you still watch
it? Soaps. I watched it for years and years and years, and then I kind of found myself that I was I'd reached a point which was getting a little bit scary because you came in at 5:30 and you watched Neighbours, and then at 6 o'clock you watched Home and Away, and then at 7 o'clock you watched Emmerdale. But
it's on way too much.
I held on to Emmerdale for a long time, but then I found myself watching the 4-hour.
Yeah. But what they do now as well.
Weekend. It's like all the week is put together.
Yeah.
But I loved over the Christmas. I walked into a room and it was on. It's on every night.
Oh, it's on
every night. And then what they do is they split it in 2 half hours and put on some crappy show in the meantime. So they get bump the ratings the whole way through.
So it's actually on every night now. I didn't know that.
I think so, yeah. Emmerdale is anyway.
But I loved how at Christmas I walked into the room and my aunt was there and she's watching Emmerdale, and all of a sudden one of the characters, Kane, is in the hospital and there's this kid in hospital and you're like, oh my god, is that the kid? Is that his son? Is that the son that was born in the letterbox back in the 90s?
Yeah,
and you can just like go, all right, okay. I love how they bring stuff back and you're like, oh yeah, that kid, I remember when that kid was born in the telephone kiosk and his mother had ran off and nobody knew, and you get the whole
and
thing.
your aunt just trying to watch it in 2021 and you're
I've gone back to 1996.
Anyway, let us know what you think of the Emmerdale at the moment. As I say, you know, I don't watch it. I do watch it, but I'm not like I'm on the phone watching it.
Yeah.
And this Mina storyline, you know, she constantly talks to herself now as well, you know, because that's the easiest way to sort of progress the storyline. She goes, I am upset with this and I'm going to do that. But anyway.
And you don't have to worry about social distancing on set if you just have
no,
one
they've
person
done away
talk.
with that.
But if you talk to yourself,
they've done away with that at the
one
moment.
person in a scene is the way to go.
I'm glad they've done away with that because that was crazy in the beginning.
Oh, I know. I remember
they were living in the same
Coronation
house and they were still 6 feet apart.
There was one episode of Coronation Street, I think, where someone was knocked. I know.
You told.
Someone was knocked over, right? The son was knocked over in the street, and the mother was, you know, apoplectic.
6 feet away.
6 feet away. No! And he's reaching to each other. I'd highly recommend 1883, the spin-off show from Yellowstone, top quality.
Yeah, I'm going to start on. Yeah, that's going to be if I can do it by next week.
Where's it on? Where's 1883 on?
I don't know, man.
Well, in the States, I know
don't
it's
look
Paramount
up his
Plus,
rubbish.
I don't know, but RTE show Yellowstone, probably they've picked up the spin-off. I don't know.
They might.
Our listeners love Yellowstone.
They do, and I can't
Everyone
find
loves
it anywhere. You think it would have been picked up by one of the platforms now, because it's on at least the 3rd series on RTE, so it must be at least that far
And it's
ahead.
a
but I
massive,
can't find it
massive rating success. There's already one in the franchise, and another one is coming.
All right, Don't Look Up is excellent. It was funny, it was entertaining, plus it gave such a powerful statement to make people think about media, politics, the climate, etc. 10 out of 10, says that caller. Don't Look Up, absolute rubbish. 2 hours, I'll never get back. I can throw in another half an hour on top of that.
Did you not finish it?
Did not finish it. But it's interesting. It's divisive. That means it's fun. You want to hear what people think. That's why I will recommend it to people and then wait to hear what they say.
I think really, though, so that we going forward, right, in terms of the zeros out of 10, you really need to give it a 2 or 3 out of 10. I think 5 is too okay.
Maybe I was trying to be. I thought about going with a lower number when I posted my review on Letterboxd, but I thought there are things like the performances that I liked. My issue was with how the film was made. You know, I really did like Meryl Streep. I just thought there was too much
overdone.
I think you'd recommend a 5 because a 5 is like you're saying, it's divisive and you kind of want. Plus, you want to know what people.
I want his view, not what he thinks other people might think.
No, but I'm saying if I was to say to put a 5 on something, I'd say I've no problem recommending to you. Say, oh no, you should watch it because a 5 makes me think. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. Whereas if I say a 2, I'd be like, oh God,
when
no.
I'm rating things, if I give it a 3 or a 4, it usually means it's a disaster. Like they didn't make it.
Right,
I
get you.
You know what I mean? It's a disaster. This isn't a disaster. It's just like it could be so much better.
All right.
It's like there's so many things that you do like that with a TV program or a book or something, and you're like, I just don't know what I think of this. And I really need somebody else.
Yeah.
To, we have a friend down home and needs to throw it in the letterbox and go, read that and call me.
I watched,
I've got to know what I think of it. I must argue about this book.
I watched Gran Torino last night. It's on Amazon.
No, I've seen it a long time ago.
Clint Eastwood film.
Yeah.
It's on Amazon if anyone has it. It's not bad. It's a bit hammy now. It's it's amazing how quickly
His
some of these
body
films
work,
can age.
I don't know. His body of work is pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's a good it's a nice film.
Yeah.
Well, look, the fact that in any
Depress
way,
me and
the
tell
fact
me
that it's
how
in any
old that
way
is.
plausible just proves how good he is.
2008. I'm thinking 2008.
Right.
What I always thought about that movie was that there's any plausibility whatsoever for it just shows how brilliant he is.
Yeah.
Because, the guy was 80 and he was,
He looks
driving.
brilliant.
Oh, awesome.
He looks brilliant in it. For
He looks
obviously
amazing in it.
taking into
Yeah.
consideration.
Well, have you seen The Mule?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. And he was even older then.
Pushing 90 in that one.
He was pushing 90 in that one.
Too. Yeah.
And he was doing the driving and he was doing the drugs. And he was having the ladies of a much younger age.
Yeah. And that's based on a true story.
But he actually pulls it off. As in you don't sit there going, all of the things I've ever watched.
It's just terrible that, time marches on, really, isn't it? I know it's inevitable and there's nothing you can do about it, but
it is.
It just really is. There's
Well,
just that brain and that intelligence, and that it could be,
Yeah,
the
passion,
light could go, the light could
But
go.
talent.
I know, you just think it just makes me think about Betty White passing away. Oh my God,
Yeah.
couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Great innings, though.
Yeah,
Fantastic
huge,
innings.
fantastic. And
She was
did
there
so
from the
much
beginning
with
of television. That's the thing about her career, She was.
Yeah, but
she
just
really-
was one of those, like you say, one of those people that you just can't imagine.
Yeah.
That the kind of the world would be without, no matter how old she got. You can
Precisely, yeah.
You sort of thought she'd say, going, and Clint is like that as well. You kind of assume he's always going to be
Okay, listen, we've
dating a
dominated
22-year-old.
much of the show. The
On
time has absolutely flown. We're going to take a break, and we'll get to more of what you have been watching after this. Let us know what you think about anything we've discussed about, being Emmerdale, Coronation Street, Don't Look Up, whatever. Keep in contact with us. 086 60 25,000. Texts or WhatsApps.
The best place to get a new bed or mattress at a great price is Restex Beds Letterkenny. The massive January sale is now on. Sponsors of today's show.
Loganair's biggest ever sale has landed. We're taking off 15% from a whopping 2 million seats for 2022. And you can book and travel with confidence with our Flex Protect cover and Fly Safe protocols. Plan ahead and get the best fares today at loganair.co.uk. Sale ends the 11th of January. Travel from the 10th of January. Subject to availability, T's and C's apply. Loganair. We make it personal.
Thinking of changing your car in 2022? Think Nissan. Thinking of upgrading and enjoying new technology? Think Kia. Looking for value for the very best in after sales? Think iMotors. Your #1 Nissan and Kia dealer in Donegal. Via our range of vehicles, please visit imotors.ie.
Fancy something special this weekend? Get your free 2022 calendar with the Irish Independent on Saturday, the 8th of January. Think of it as a New Year's gift for all of our readers. We filled it with stunning pictures from our award-winning photographers And for the first time, those captured by you, the reader. Don't forget to pick up your free 2022 calendar with the Irish Independent on Saturday. Up close and independent.
Forward Emphasis International, based in Mallinhead, are actively recruiting for customer service advisors with both permanent remote working and hybrid opportunities available. Experience in contact centres or insurance services is desirable but not essential, as full training is provided. Fully funded financial services qualifications delivering attractive career path opportunities are available. Please visit their website www.forwardemphasis.ie or apply via their careers page.
At Chrysler Supermarket, we offer daily specials at our deli with fresh and delicious food to go. Avail of our butcher's weekly specials or choose from a range of healthy options and pre-packed meals, plus many more offers in store. We're open 7 days for your convenience. Chrysler Supermarket, where quality and value is assured.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at...
It's 11:40. Emmerdale is a psychological thriller at the moment. Yes, but it is so prolonged. Another caller says, I agree with you about Emmerdale. It's very dragged out with Mina and all these murders. It's ridiculous. That comes in from Maria. The law will get her before February. Her time is about up, says another text to Mina. Well, what... She's such a strong character. I presume maybe they'll do court cases and stuff. They'll try and drag the year out of it, won't they? We love Coronation Street because we feel the soul of the actors in every storyline. Fantastic. But there's another character on Coronation Street who's married to Kevin Webster. I can't remember her name, but she is never off it. Everything seems to circle around her, or has for a while. But anyway, it's a terrible story in Emmerdale. The quicker they get to the end of it, the better. It would put you off watching it. Yeah, if you're not into that, then there's no point in watching it. Did the panel watch Dope Stick? Their views. That's on Disney Plus.
Yes, it's excellent.
I've not heard a bad thing about it, Fionnuala.
I really enjoyed it. It kind of gives you the business side of it, it gives you the human side of it, the medical side of it, how things kind of occurred. It's more kind of a docudrama or whatever the way they want to call it. I really enjoyed it.
This might be slightly dramatic from a listener because they not only agree with you, but they stand with you, Michael. I stand with Michael. I agree with you, Greg.
You're not following me on social media, clearly.
I agree with you, Greg, about 80% when it comes to film reviews, but this is what passes for comedy these days. Don't look up, I presume. When Meryl Streep, who I love, playing the President of the United States, hears there's a huge asteroid heading straight for the Earth, her main concern is whether to smoke in public or not the fate of the planet or the human race. Now, let me take you back to a previous president that was in the White Office, and you wonder, were they really thinking about, what the
good of the world
was globally, or strange things like whether they can smoke or not. A caller is disappointed that we're talking about soaps from other countries when we have one of the best soaps of all time, Ros na Rún on TG Cahir. A couple of people rating that. I just simply can't talk about it because I don't get to see it. What's your thought on Stay Close on Netflix? Andrew Nesbitt. As I say, I watched the first episode. I might have to rewatch it. It all seemed very... You remember when I used to be quite critical of British shows?
Yes,
Michael,
because they were all depressing.
And then I watched other ones, but it was the way the stories were done, loads of this, that and the other. I felt that with this one.
As I said, I have it down to watch.
Katie's watched it. She loves it.
Tommy Rosny, ask him, loves it. He must be nearly finished it now because he was trying to get it done before The Apprentice starts on BBC. So he was telling me about it yesterday.
Exciting lives we all live.
He was telling me about it. He's loving it. Anybody I know that's watching is loving it. I have to say it's on my list.
The Ground is on at 7.
Yeah.
Hi, Greg. Did any of you see the Stan and Ollie movie? I thought it was brilliant.
Yes.
You definitely reviewed that. You loved it.
Is that the latest one?
This is when they came to Europe. I think.
It was late in their career. And
I did think that was
great performances. Very affectionate, very knowledgeable. I love Laird and Hardy. I have the box set. I watch the films all the time. I was so happy with this film. I thought it was a really good tribute. And the casting, Coogan and the guy from Step Brothers, whose name escapes me. It's not Kate Winslet, but I thought it was a great film.
I don't know. He's obsessed
you
with
can't deflect. You can't deflect your inability to remember names.
I can. I just did.
Constantly reference.
It just did.
I don't understand it either.
But I thought it was a great film.
You want to
I
feel...
did not think I've seen Kate Winslet in enough stuff to have forgotten her that often. I forget loads of people's names more.
Ross na Rún is filmed in Ireland with great actors from
Yes.
Donegal. It's the best TV soap on air.
No doubt
But
about
listen,
it.
the whole idea of what we do here is not for people to wait and hear what we've talked about.
Of course.
You know, get in touch with us if you think people need to be talking about Ross na Rún, or there's a great storyline, or a particular actor is doing great. Text in during 11 till 12, and that's what all this is all about. You know, we don't.
No, Ross na Rún's
We
very-
start talking points, but you know, we love to talk about.
Remember
with what the listeners-
TV3 had a soap as well there for a while. Was it Red Rock or whatever?
Oh yeah,
And
I started watching
it was
that. That was very good.
It was awesome.
I loved that. Yeah, there was a
It
real
was
Hill
really
Street
good.
Blues vibe to
And
that.
some, some people
Hold
think
on
Fair
a
City
second.
is really good.
Don't try and dig yourself out of the not supporting Irish soap hole now.
I have watched Irish soap in
The
the past.
Perrys are a disgrace.
No, I have watched Irish soaps in the past. When I lived down in Galway, we used to go out to the set of Ross na Rún when I worked.
Why?
In when I worked in the local radio
Fanboys.
station, we went out and we did the show, a show like this.
Oh right,
from,
I get you.
from out there
I
a couple of times.
I
in
just
that,
thought you
'cause
stood
it's only
outside.
Carrow.
Yeah.
Just stood
No,
outside
it
waiting
was
for
out
it.
in Carrow.
All right,
We were
excellent
in the
stuff.
pub for the whole day.
Doing a show.
Doing the show from
Really?
the Ross
We
na
need to
Rún
look
pub.
into that.
The Ross na Rún pub.
We get great enjoyment every night from all the goggle boxes, the English and Irish and celebrity. Even the repeats keep us happy every night. I find it's nice to switch on and background. I don't like the celebrity ones, funny enough. I love it when it's normal. I like it, when it's normal people. I'm not a big fan of
I
Celebs
can't
watching TV.
understand Gogglebox at all.
No, I don't either. I don't know why.
But people really enjoy it. And
Yeah,
everyone
friends of mine
says,
love
oh,
it too.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
and they just love
why
it.
watching people watch TV is. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I should set up a webcam at home and just people can watch me watching TV
Are you going to say anything interesting? 'Cause that's
constantly.
kind of-
Oh, never during a program. Well, never. Yeah, you see, you're right. I would never talk during a program.
Oh my God, I
watch you eat
constantly
popcorn.
talk to the characters on the television.
Well, you'd be
I used
perfect
to-
for Gogglebox because that's what you have to do because
Yeah,
you know
no,
you have
I
to be
can't-
one of those ones that
I
recalls in
used-
horror and
Yeah.
someone dropping a pen.
Yeah, no, I
used to
can't
talk-
do the
I used
recall
to
in
talk
her,
to-
but I totally sit there and go, oh, you twat. Why
I would
are you
talk to
doing
Jack
that?
Bauer. I used to shout a lot at the TV during 24. I mean, a lot. I used to shout constantly.
Don't
And
go
Jack
down
went, "Come on, Jack!" I used to do that the whole time. Fully admit it. Used to get to me.
Listen, quick ad break. We'll be right back, and I might just allow you to open up a YouTube video of 24 and scream at it for 3 minutes. Stay right where you are.
Is 2022 the year you need to change your mattress? Restex Beds Letterkenny. The massive January sale is now on. Sponsors of today's show.
This is the new Toyota Yaris Cross, a new kind of SUV, a new point of view, new compact style, new spacious feel, and exclusively self-charging hybrid. The right choice for today. Get a new perspective with the Yaris Cross self-charging hybrid. Available now at Kelly's Toyota, Port Road, Letterkenny, or Drumby, Mount Charles. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota. Built for a better world.
Homeland Fuel offers, keeping you warm for less. 20 kg Super Therm, buy 5 bags, get 1 bag of hardwood logs free. 10 kg wood pellets, buy 10, get 1 free. Board Namona briquettes, buy 3 for €16. Shop in-store or online at homeland.ie.
The TUI Live Happy sale is here, with thousands of free child places this summer. Splashing, sorted. Savings of up to €250 per booking. Plus low booking deposits and the TUI Holiday Promise for complete peace of mind. Here we come. So relax and get booking. TUI Live Happy. Offer T's and C's apply.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to give blood and to choose to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Letterkenny and Bunbeg should attend the clinic in the Radisson Blue Hotel in Letterkenny from Monday 10th to Thursday 13th of January. To ensure social distancing, all donors need to make an appointment, so call 1-800-731-137 to book your time. New donors are welcome. Visit giveblood.ie to check eligibility and clinic details, because we count on you.
In harsh winter weather, Watson Hire have all you need to stay safe and keep warm. There's great deals on coal, Keller gas, firewood and heating oil with free local delivery. Also electric, fan, halogen and oil-filled heaters. See in-store and the fuel store at watsonhire.ie. Great offers on winter clothing and boots. For any hire items, there's still a weekend hire deal of 3 days for the price of one. All at Watson Hire, Kiltoy, Letterkenny, with free parking at the door.
Crawford's House and More Castlefin. January sale now on. Get 15% off everything in store. 15% off all tiles, bathware, wood, carpet, vinyl, adhesives and grout. Yes, you heard right. 15% off everything in store for 2 weeks only. Crawford's House and More Castlefin. 914392.
If your child is aged 5 to 11, you can now register for their free COVID-19 vaccine. COVID-19 usually causes mild to moderate illness in this age group, but it can cause more severe illness. All vaccines used in Ireland are tested before they're approved by the European Medicines Agency. To find out more or to register, go to hsc.ie or call HSE Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSE.
Cooney's Furniture at Letterkenny Retail Park January sale is now on. You'll find everything for your home has been reduced, with massive savings on suites, tables, beds and accessories. But hurry, only while stocks last. Call in today and treat your home with a visit to Cooney's Furniture.
For a healthy start to 2022, check out the great range of food available at Kelly Centre in Letterkenny. With healthy options throughout the store, there's also the Green Kitchen Deli, offering fresh, nutritious food to go. Choose from a full menu of delicious sandwiches and salad boxes, or build your own option, all made on site and prepared fresh to order. Jumpstart your healthy lifestyle at Green Kitchen in the award-winning Kelly Centre, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
So Good Juice is an award-winning naturally homegrown juice shot. Based in the Northwest, our 100% organic juice offers a choice of 3 key ingredients. Wheatgrass, helping your immune system. Turmeric and ginger works effectively as an anti-inflammatory. Beetroot and ginger improves blood flow and reduces blood pressure. And they're all great for boosting energy. Take that positive step towards a healthier life. Make So Good Juice part of your daily wellness routine. To order, go to sogoodjuice.com. So Good Juice. Start something good today.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. Fair City, it's a grape soap, according to my aunt. She wanted me to text in and remind you that Fair City had a girl held captive and a serial killer before Corrie or Emmerdale. As she says, Fair City wins. Shout out to my Aunt Mary. Hiya, Aunt Mary.
Yeah, they had a girl.
Say hello to Aunt Mary.
Hello, Aunt Mary.
Aunt Mary.
You're dead right, Aunt Mary.
100%.
They had a girl trapped in a garage.
That's not over again.
No, they had a girl trapped in a garage for a long time.
Right, okay.
I think she was a year.
I'll let you pick one from here because, I mean, the big talking point has been Don't Look Up, so it's not a bit wonder we talked about that and the issues that it raises. But pick another thing from your list, Fionnuala, that you think we should talk about.
Well, I suppose I was going to do the JFK thing, but that's a bit on the Don't Look Up. So I'll just go with something silly, which is the Being the Ricardos. So Being the Ricardos is on Amazon at the moment. Nicole Kidman and Javier Bardem, I think I said that right. I completely went to watch this for 2 reasons. One, Aaron Sorkin wrote it and directed it, and he did things like The West Wing and The Network and stuff like that, and I really enjoy his stuff. Some people don't like it, but I really enjoy it, so I said, I'll try this. And I've never seen Javier Bardem in something in which he wasn't going around murdering people. So I was like, this will be interesting. And actually, he's awesome in it.
Yes.
And he plays Ricky Ricardo, who most people know was the husband of Lucille Ball, and it was part of their I Love Lucy TV show. He in himself was a very famous band leader and he had been an actor, but after World War II he had trouble getting back into it. They were married, so then they started the TV program, and they ended up with like one of the biggest TV production studios I think going. They had over 60 million people watched I Love Lucy show every single week. They were the most influential CBS program in America, and she was one of the most influential women probably in the world at that point. So many people knew her and knew of her. They have done this. It's based on a week in her life, in which they connected it with the the House Committee Against Non-American Activities or whatever it was called, which is about whether or not people were in the Communist Party or members of the Communist Party. She had been called in order to be interviewed by the House Committee. She had been found not guilty, but then it came out that she had actually signed as a member of the Communist Party back in the 30s, way before it kind of was becoming a bit of a thing. And it's sort of like that week. It's very interestingly done because it copes with that side, so you kind of have the little political side of it as well. It's a lot about their relationship and the relationship between a strong woman and a man. In this case with Latin leanings and that kind of thing. So like he would have come from a very kind of a strong male background. And then it's also about the other people that are in it, and I really enjoyed it. I have to say, I thought it was very well done. I definitely recommend it if it comes up and it's on TV. If people don't have Amazon, or it eventually show up in one of the others, I think it was. Even Nicole Kidman.
I was going to ask what's she like in it.
Actually not too bad now. I mean, she's a little bit. Some of the facial stuff that they've done, I don't know whether it's prosthetics or whatever, I wasn't mad about, but very much kind of had, Lucille Ball, particularly the TV character, had a very particular pitch in her voice and different things like that, and she definitely can pull that off far better than I thought she could. But I couldn't get over Javier Bardem. He sings, he dances, he comedy, everying. And I'm like, I've never seen him not being a
serial killer or something.
Or a cowboy, or you know the way he's in all those kind of like No Country for Old Men and different things like that he's in.
Bond film.
So Bond and that kind of thing.
How much out of 10?
Oh, I would definitely give it an 8. I just enjoyed it. It was a nice 2 hours of my time.
Right, it's not on the list, but I mean, there are going to be people that know both you and I are fans of Dexter, and the finale's coming up over the weekend. It's been great, hasn't it? It's been a great return to form.
Great return to form.
And in fact, an improvement in some areas, I think.
I agree, better than the last 4 seasons of the original Dexter. This week's episode was fantastic. Last week's episode in the woods was probably the best episode of Dexter, I thought.
Yeah.
Really loved it. And the big thing is, we were chatting about this last night at that rehearsal as well. It sounds like our rehearsals are just talking about films and TV.
Fairness.
We did ages chatting about this. The last episode of Dexter, we don't know what's going to happen because we don't know if the show is coming back for a second season.
It has to come back though, because this is not a reboot, or this is not a tidying up strings. This is a return to form. And whether they pursue things through other members, I don't know.
Yeah,
but I don't know if that would work either for hardcore
for
fans,
hardcore fans. Yeah,
but at this stage, spin-off would work too well.
Plus, if they've brought it back now, I mean, are they not in danger of losing it again?
There's no need to not make a brand new series again. For people who've never watched Dexter, they'll have watched this and thought this is a fantastic program. When's the next series?
And you have the original showrunner back from the first 4 seasons, and this season gives the impression that this guy is hungry to do these stories.
And they've pushed it beyond, though. Even I think in some areas they've pushed it beyond.
I agree.
Where they have.
They've expanded in a very natural way on what the original show was.
You mentioned listenership, viewership figures. How is it doing?
Big, and it's a huge hit for Showtime in America. They're the network behind it.
That's the answer.
So it's a huge hit for them. That's why I'm leaning towards the show should and will continue in some form. But again, heading into the last episode this coming few days, we honestly, genuinely don't know which way it's going to play, because they've put so many balls in the air. And without any spoilers, it's like...
And he could return to Miami. I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
Everything's on the
But
table.
here's the thing, in terms of what could happen next, I really love this new town. Do you like the new town they're in?
Oh, they've got good characters.
Good characters. Like, not just the sheriff, I love her, but the guy, the deputy who's actually the coach in the school, really like that guy. I want to see more of him, and I want to see all these characters again. It's really expanded, yeah.
Listen, I'm sorry we didn't get to anything on the list.
No, that's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Fionnuala, Michael, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
You're very welcome. Have a nice weekend.
Thanks for the invite.
And thanks, Mary, by the way, Mary Mulvaney, who says she enjoys this item, and we appreciate that, Mary. That's where we have to leave it on the program.